Quiet on the set, quiet on the set. And then once we get started, we can get started. Once we get started, we get started. It's all about starting. You know what I mean? Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back online.
What's happening?
As you guys can see, we're not in Oakland anymore. We have landed in Alameda.
Sheesh.
This is crazy, man.
Sheesh.
Evolution. We done went from middle of Oakland to Check London Square to Alameda, and so we're here now, and we got a room full of people, and this is gonna be a really, really fun class.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So before we get started, I just want to bring up a couple of just discuss a couple of rules real quick in a new space. So if you plan on attending future classes, with the Bay Area, I'm not concerned about COVID like it was the first wave, but I don't like to see people have life disruptions because of COVID. And so we're trying to practice COVID smart and COVID safe practices. So when we walk into the building, make sure you always have a mask. If you go to the restroom, wear a mask. If you want to attend class, if you're not vaccinated, you just have to wear a mask during the class, which is okay. Like I said, once again, we're not here to judge you or ask you too many questions. But if you're not vaccinated, hopefully you're healthy, so you can take care of yourself. So if you do somehow catch COVID, you just get through it. Because at the end of the day, I want to see all these faces again. Other thing is that on arrival, there's this little app that you just use your phone to point at the QR code, and it takes seconds. And then within seconds, you just answer a few questions, and it gives you permission to enter the class. Outside of that, that's the only real strict structural rules we have here, but no different really than Hope. It's the same class. We're here to have some fun. The other requirement is you ask questions. ask questions. Do not ask me questions when I'm on my way to my car. Do not ask me questions throughout the weekend. Ask me questions in class, and trust me, I'm here to serve you, so I will answer any question. Another thing too, last night, Court asked me to help him out on this project in San Francisco, where we were talking to a group of black men in San Francisco. By the way, was one of the most exciting classes outside of this class I've ever done. And it was a room full of black men I was speaking to. There was somewhere I was going to go with this. Oh, those black men, first of all, they're hungry. They're ready to go.
Yeah.
They're ready to build and design and build. Two, they ask some of the best questions. The most simplest questions sometimes are the best possible questions. Some of us are trying to take an opportunity to ask a scholarly question,
right,
and somehow plant your name in the videos of Facebook of the most phenomenal question we've ever heard. When one guy just asked me, well, why should I travel? What's the cost benefit to me traveling? Right? And that just a simple question allowed me to unlock an answer as opposed to just accepting something. So in the end, make sure you're asking questions. Because we have more people in class now, I'm expecting the class to push back. And I'm not looking at pushback as a bad thing. There's a process of everybody in this class has a complex background, complex history. And so things register different to you. Let me give you an example. Let's say I say to you, hey, listen, John got in his car and took his dog and drove to the beach. Everybody in this room say, okay, I got that. Oh, you do? Well, what kind of dog do you have? What kind of car do you drive? Which beach do you arrive at? Now, I'm sure if everybody wrote down their answer, we would have a variation of what race is John, right? We would have so many different variations of that story. So when you ask questions, we're able to give context to a lot of this content to make it yours. In this class, we're not really here to teach, we're here to transfer. We're transferring the knowledge that we've obtained to you. We're not teaching you because often when we're teaching you, we're assuming you can just do what we do and hear what we hear and then show up the way we show up. Well, that's not necessarily the truth. It's about how do we align with your different backgrounds, your history, and your experiences. In the nearby classes, we're going to have, so whatever you post online, I'm going to put on the side screen so everybody in class can see the online interaction. That's stage 2. Today, we didn't have enough time. It's so many layers to moving a class from one place to another place, which we've never done before live, that we spend most of the day just getting things dialed in. But there's still room to design the background for us and get a second screen going over here and the projection screen and all the combination of things that will be happening. So that's some of the things to look forward to. Now, next on the list, I want to specifically thank the people who worked so hard to bring us here. One of them are in the room, so I'm going to point her out for those who are in the room. Stephanie Bradshaw. She's actually the director of the Career Center. Y'all ever you ever heard me tell the story of how there was these sisters in the community? Like I used to tell my business partner my first 5 years, if I ever build an office, I want a black woman as our statue, because every step of growth that we've ever achieved, somehow some black woman has been driving our force, our support system to get us there. Mm-hmm. And I promise you, when I say she's worked hard, I'm talking about hard to get us here and make us absolutely comfortable and do whatever it takes. Because, I'm not easy to work with. Y'all just know me. I'm just not Josh. Josh, watch yourself. But I'm not easy to work with. And because, I have these real strong standards of I only could do it this way as opposed to that way, right? And I'm flexible in some areas, but some areas I'm really rigid. So the areas that I had this level of rigidity, which I was comfortable with her saying, oh, you're just too rigid for me. She said, no, let's work together. And so I really appreciate her. She's the kind of sisters in our community that, like, if you think about the civil rights movement and how we got the level of freedom that we have received, it's sisters like her. So I want to say thank you, Stephanie. Greatly appreciate
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you. I also want to thank Dean Duke. He's dean of counseling special programs. When I met with him, he was 100% committed to having this program, these sessions held here, the support the Career Center. He was so committed to it, and he's like, "Hey, this is a really, really good idea." He's a businessman himself. He works partially here, and he runs his own business, and he's a phenomenal person. Also, I want to thank Dean Jennings. Dean is the director of the workforce, dean of workforce. When Stephanie went to the dean of workforce and mentioned she wanted to bring the session here, the dean said, "Put them in a new building. Put them in our newest building." And when I say they really rolled out the red carpet for us, I can't begin to express the experience we've had behind the scenes. So in front of the scenes, you guys just see all this stuff set up. But everybody, I'm talking about even the IT team, everyone, in addition, Selwyn and Lonnie and the custodial team, them guys are acting like we're cousins. Every time I turn around, they hear, "Hey, what else you need? Hey, man, what can we do to take care of you," right? I even get a chance to chop it up with them when we're not even doing this official stuff. And so I just want to say, and then last but not least, the College of Alameda as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as you guys know, this is kind of we always know that junior colleges have always been community focused, and they're even more community focused in the past. In the past, the goal was to get you into a 4-year college, but now they're even trying to make sure that you get jobs or close the equality gaps, right? The economic gaps in society. They're trying to expand their value. They're trying to deliver to a larger society. And what I think is absolutely amazing is how a team of individuals that, Stephanie's been part of Hope for the beginning of the year. But then the other members met us through her infectious relationship with us. She primed the relationship, and then everybody just collaborated to give us the best possible experience. And one of the things I want to make sure that we return that experience is how can we, let me say this real quick. If you guys ever see the names I call Stephanie, Duke, Jennings, Selwyn, Lonnie, and the rest of the team, if you ever have an opportunity to help them, make sure we all show up for them. If they ever start something, make sure we're donating, we're investing, that we show it for these people because they're showing up for us, right? 2, here's my greatest vision of being here. And this supersedes all. Since we started Hope, we wanted to be able to teach everything from certain skills that people may wish to acquire to accounting, business accounting, to different specialty courses in business. They provide these courses here. You can literally sign up these courses for almost nothing, right? They even have a room. This is my personal preference. They have a room that's full of every form of technology you could think of that has to do with printing almost anything you see in this room, from embroidery to sewing clothing to cutting steel, wood, to 3D printers, a whole room dedicated to that. If you want to learn, just go over there. They'll train you. They'll teach you. They're dedicated to improving the labor force in the Bay Area, right? And so I want us to not only, as you guys start to get that hunger, for some of you that haven't made the transition, or for those of you who already made the transition and you want to tighten up your skills, sign up for these courses at nighttime and hit them up, right? And for those of you who are thinking about transition to be an entrepreneur and this is what you want to do, take that course. Let me explain something to you real quick. If you have somebody who represents a degree of expertise on the other side, you can make that course what you want to make that course. You can walk in that room and have questions with the professor, an engagement level, where at the end of the day, you're focusing on leaving that room with enough information to give you confidence to take your journey. And so this is an excellent opportunity for us to be connected to a system. All of you online, we'll be working. I will be working with the college and working with Stephanie because she's part of the career. Her whole department focuses on improving people's career opportunities. And so I'll be working with Stephanie on how can we provide the best, serve the individuals who are coming to this college, to this program, to maximize their relationship with this institution, to maximize their performance in life itself. So this is a powerful opportunity. So it's not just us moving to a space without the train. Mm-hmm. I kind of miss the train already.
Yeah, the train.
The train gone.
No more train.
No more train, bro. The train is gone. But I just want to really highlight to everybody that this is going to grow into something much bigger, much more complex. We're going to work on a more robust recruitment system after we kind of dial in the beta period. We need a little beta period to kind of adjust everything in. But at some point, as we dial it in, I'm going to really focus on really holding people's hand and helping them become strong entrepreneurs. Not this idea, if I just give you some money like it's a lottery, somehow you're going to win success. It just doesn't work that way. You need to be part of a culture and environment that's helping you drive. Like, why can't Alameda College be the mini version of Stanford? You know, Stanford always produces entrepreneurs. Why can't we do that in our community? Why can't we take all these beautiful minds in the Bay Area that are full of creativity but have nowhere to go and channel them into like producing solutions in business and owning and controlling their communities, right? This is a vision that if it's done, and I'm committed to continue to grow and adjust the program until we fine tune it to the point that we have perfect output. When I say perfect output, we find a number that makes the most sense for the highest level. What number do we need to reach where we have a perfect output system? And even if those who don't even take the journey, you're part of a network of individuals of high integrity, right? Because once you belong to Hope, I can give you a call if you do somebody wrong in business. That's part of Hope. And that integrity circle that we have, it becomes something that and here's the thing, I don't think people intend to hurt nobody. But sometimes you make mistakes that's misinterpreted. And so if there's a middleman that can work between you and the customer, or you and the other business that you are collaborating with to make sure that you have a smooth relationship, that's the beginning of powerful growth. And so there's numerous amount of opportunities here that is extremely, it's just so many things that's going to happen as we move forward with this. So I'm really excited about this. And I have to honestly say, Stephanie had this vision. That was really like when I first came here, I was just looking for a space. And Stephanie just, she cross-sold these ideas. I was like, that does sound kind of good. So we have every intent on getting behind and collaborating with Stephanie to produce the strongest entrepreneur experience we can provide. And so with that said, I think I'm gonna ride with Court. July is gonna happen, and July is gonna be it's gonna be a different class I've ever taught before. Let me say this again. I'm gonna teach a class in July that's gonna be so different than any class I've ever taught. And the reason for this is that, as you guys know, 3 or 4 years ago, I started focusing on learning scaling because we had stabilized our business, but scaling is a different way of thinking. And in the exposure of learning to scale a business, I learned more about how to stabilize a business. Most of the stuff I have taught that I can remember, I can't think of anything I'm like, I wish I never taught that. Most of the things I've ever taught, they're fine. Like if you go back and watch last year's tapes, there's nothing I would say don't watch, or I want to correct that or change this. But what I wasn't able to offer was a deeper level of thinking. Quite often we maintain a certain way that we think, and all we do is we add information to it to enhance the way we think. Rarely do we focus on we focus on adding information to the way we think to strengthen the way we think. I'm going to shift the way you think to enhance your output. And so in order for me to do that, I am going to introduce a lot of different ideas and strategies you guys have never heard before. I'm going to introduce you guys forms of thinking that will help you avoid manipulation. It will increase your negotiation skills. It will help you see flaws in arguments. It will help you avoid pop science. It will help you make better decisions. It will help you see things. It will take the information you learned in this class so far and take it to a complete different level. Now, the class won't move as fast as the previous classes because we may take 2 or 3 principles or 4 principles in one class and do exercises because you're not going to get it right away. Your brain's going to get it, but it's going to get it in a very narrow tunnel. And my job is to expand it and show you how complex these ideas are. And then when you hear people talk to you, you'll be able to just see right through the layers in the conversation. Because you're dealing with a culture that's full of pride, people who are undertrained but over knowledge. And so everybody wants to express themselves as experts. Everyone wants to walk into a room and represent, they want to personalize their personal growth and why you should listen to them. But quite often, we've never been trained on how to listen. Also, how to negotiate. I'm going to introduce you to so many principles that it's going to make you extremely uncomfortable when you first start. I'm going to give you a warning. If you're not prepared to change, don't take this next section of class because you're going to change so much. So much. It's going to be ridiculous amount of change you're going to experience. Another thing, too, is that I'm not teaching from one book. I'm going to give you guys a group of books that I'm going to be teaching from because there's a combination of information that I'm using to reinforce other information. So I'm going to have a flow of lessons, but I'm going to really set the class up for discussions and conversation because I promise you when you go back to your office, now, unfortunately, I don't want you guys to go back to office and try to don't let your ego take over and try to raise your status by the information you learn in class. But I promise you it's going to feel like you can do that if you want to. Also, I'm going to help you understand, I'm going to make you fall more in love with more people. Let me say this again. I'm going to make you fall in love with more people. Let me explain to you what I mean by this. I don't know if you guys have experienced this so far. As you're learning in this class, you start to think, well, how do I go home and talk to people like this? It's hard to hang out with these people anymore. It's hard to have these conversations over here anymore, right? And so you feel like the information you're learning is creating a wedge between loved ones, people in the community, events you used to go to. That's because you're still you're still comparing yourself because deep down inside you're still negotiating your personal value. Once you sit in a certain space, you realize how much you don't know about others. Let me say this again. Once you sit in a certain space, you're going to realize how much you really don't know about others. Because your brain assumes the way you think others share that form of thinking. But the next level of this education I'm going to take you to, you're going to realize how much you can't see. So once you realize the fallibility, because one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attack the fallibility of the human brain. Too many of us don't know the fallibility, how fallible the human brain is. We don't know. This is why I see people talk to children. Oh, they know better. She should. That child's not capable of doing what you just suggested, right? Here's the funny part. That teenager is not capable of doing what you suggested. Here's another thing. That adult is not capable of doing what you just suggested. Or let me go one step further. Your mother, your father, and your grandparents are not capable of doing what you suggested. You have no idea. If you don't understand the fallible level of the human body, of the human senses, then your perception of what is possible, what people should be doing, and what has happened in the past, present, and future, people's intent is all distorted. So you're walking around with all this distortion of everything that's occurring around you, not realizing that it's also tampering with your ability to make good decisions. So in order for me to improve your decisions, you have to first recognize the behavior of human beings. So once you embrace how fallible you and others are, you're going to start to walk around with curiosity. And when you witness differences in opinions, you're not going to focus on they're wrong and you're right. You want to know, how did you arrive there? And you're going to realize that in every conversation, especially as a business owner, it is giving you material and ingredients to develop your own strategies to grow your business. So every conversation is giving you information that you need to create your particular system, structure, or approach to grow your business. You guys get where I'm going with this? So where historically what's happened is that a lot of people say some stuff like, yeah, man, I hang around with my cousins and they're not talking about what I talk about, or, my nephew's so hood, and, my auntie, she's corny and almost like Britney Spears, and man, these white people over here get on my nerves, and I don't really understand the Asian culture and LGBT. No, you're going to love them all because you're going to start to see value. I'm going to turn them into just being people to valuable valuable players in your journey. And this is so critical. This is why when you're with them, you may go to a party and it might not be your music. Like if you take me to a pop culture, it ain't my music. I can't do it, right? But what I will do now is walk around and have conversations. Who are you? What are you into? What you believe in? Why'd you do it this way as opposed to that way? Where'd you come from? What inspires you? Where do you want to go? Because as you gather that information and you're building your marketing campaign, you're broadening your creativity by becoming aware of how other people think. See, think about this. If I told you to create a flyer for me right now, and your thinking is limited to how you see the world, then your creativity is the same. But if you're trying to create a flyer or brochure or a website for others, you got to see others. This is why I hate the diversity argument, because diversity is trying to sell it based upon good, bad, right, and wrong, morality, and that's just for human beings, that's not sustainable. But if you make the argument for people that knowing others is directly tied to your own growth, if you think Fight TV Media, all my clients are just Black, Latino, Asian, Caucasian, you're wrong. They're all of them and some more, right? If you think that only person I've ever worked with were straight males, straight females, you're absolutely horribly wrong, right? Because for me to gain my competitive edge, I wanted the diversity of different people experiences to enrich my products and my creativity. You guys see where I'm going with this? So where I'm going to take you starting in July, and this is why everything this court is going over is priming you for July, because July is going to be super rich. For those of you who are joining the class online just recently, hang with us. Post your questions in the group. Right now, Shabisha will, if any questions you put in the group, Shabisha will upload those questions to the team. Later on, Shakina is building our mural system. By the way, thank you, Shakina. She's building a mural system. We might just run a mural live on the screen. That way we can have live interaction with people online. So it feels like they're in the room, but even though they just cursors moving around, talking with their cursors. So with that being said, I'm going to ride with Court on this one because we're kind of doing a hybrid this month, going back to the way it was just for this month. But I'm going to play second man. So this, what's the group? What's that R&B group, that the fake one that came out back in the days?
Milli Vanilli?
Huh?
Milli Vanilli?
No, that's cold-blooded.
I don't know what you're talking about.
They did not tell you. No, the movie they made about the four dudes singing. 5 Heartbeats, right? Who's the lead singer? The real one. No, in the movie. Was it JT, the lead singer? It's Flash? Okay, he Flash tonight. All right, I'm the backup singer. Oh, no, Eddie Kane. That's right. This is Eddie Kane right here. But he's not high or nothing. But he's Eddie Kane. this is Eddie Kane. I'm the backup singer, and I'm just gonna come here every once in a while with my shoe wop to wop to wop. So anyway, take off for it. Let's get this process going.
Oh, that's hella funny. All right, y'all ready? Man, let's do it. Let's get cracking. So start off. Stress plus nutrients equals growth. Have any idea what that means? Stress plus nutrients equals growth. So let's take a plant. And I'm drawing from experience that's legal now, but wasn't legal at a certain point in time. But the formula that I had to figure out, because when greed takes over and you think, damn, I want to make a lot of money doing this. So fuck it, I'm just going to feed these things as much nutrients, all of it, hella nutrients. Why not? They burn and die. If I put I'm going to make the lights as bright as I can and as close to the plants as I can so that they grow faster. They burn and die. Shit. Okay, well, let me move it back. If you move the lights back too far, they don't get enough stress. They're weak. If you don't give the plants enough nutrients and water, they wither and die because they're too weak. So there's a formula that you have to have stress and nutrients at a certain formula, and they flourish like crazy. And if you try to remove the stress or remove the nutrients or reduce it to any amounts, you get mediocre or no product at all. And I've took plenty of L's trying to figure out that. Now, if you transfer that to us as human beings and entrepreneurs, it's the same thing. A lot of times we complain a lot about our trauma, our backgrounds, where we're from, the tough circumstances, the hardships, the this, the that prevented us from what we think being successful, not realizing that without the stress, you just wanted the nutrients, the good life, the good situation, the good parents, the good schools, and you got your car at 16 and you got all this shit that you saw in the movies. You think that's what would have made you successful, but in actuality, it would have made you impotent, completely impotent, because we need stress. Now, here's the flip side of that. Too much stress, you break. Too much, the stress too close to you, the sun too close to you, you die. The earth right now is in a sweet spot of stress and nutrients. Mm-hmm. It's perfect. The distance between the sun and here makes the earth a prime real estate for life to live. Organisms, microorganisms to flourish in water and swim in water. If the earth is just a tiny bit too close, too hot, we burn, we die. Too far, too cold, we die. So as an entrepreneur, you got to jump into the mindset of anything you want to grow into, you gotta be willing to accept the stresses just as much as you accept the nutrient side of the game. Because it's not gonna feel good at times. The reason why plants grow is that there has to be a push and pull. Plants are organisms. So if you just in those days, if I would just feed, they get overwatered, right? The plant needs to feel stress of like, oh no, I'm dry. So guess what it does? It gets stressed, starts reaching out. The roots start reaching out, looking for water, looking for nutrients. The root, that stress, that scarcity causes the roots of the plant to start searching. And that's how your roots get deep. Then the nutrients come, and they come to all those newly formed roots that gives them even stronger strength. And you play that game with them every night, guess what your fruits look like? If you spoil, just like if you spoil your kids, you give them everything they ever asked for, they don't gotta want for nothing because you're trying to give them what you didn't have, then it's highly likely that they're not going to achieve what you achieved because you didn't give them the other side. There's an example of I told this before, basketball player, mediocre basketball player, but in his mind, but he's a legend, right? Rick Barry, underhanded, and what he would do to his sons is when he played for the Warriors here, he had friends all over Oakland. So what his sons, who three of them, I believe, 2 or 3 of his sons made to the league, to the NBA. He would drop them off in West Oakland with one of his friends who he knew they were safe, but the kids didn't know it. Drop them off, bye. And they like, oh, no, wait, no, bye. Stress. Over time, guess what? They got comfortable in the hood. They got comfortable playing with all them kids. They got comfortable in them uncomfortable situations, feeling them stresses. So then as they grew up, they didn't play like white boys. Why? Because they don't have the same fears. They don't have the same insecurities. They've been stressed in the right way. So us as entrepreneurs, if you're not putting yourself in stress situations and you want life to be easy all the time, or you want your entrepreneur journey to just be so sweet and cool and happy, guess what? Nothing is going to happen. You're going to have an impotent business. And a lot of times, some of our businesses are impotent because of that. We want the easy life.
You know, one of the things I found out with the, I had this conversation twice with the brothers from San Francisco. And I told them, if you call me and tell me you're going through hard times, I'm going to smile and say congratulations. Because without hard times, our ego would never change. Quite often, human beings, we have this sense of pride, this sense of ego, this sense of, I know what I'm doing, I want to feel things out. Matter of fact, I would even argue that when Damon Dash said, he said this one comment that was really harsh, but I love it. He said, I can't teach boss to a slave. And I guys want you to understand something real quick. So I can give you an example of what that feels like. Have you guys ever had a real job before? Like a full-time job? Okay. Have you guys ever got fired? Anybody ever got fired before? Okay. Have you ever thought about leaving that job tomorrow? Okay. Isn't it somewhat frightening, right? It's frightening. It's something because you're going from certainty to uncertainty. See, when you have a job, you know a check is coming. You know your medical bills are paid. You got these guarantees. Now you're going from certainty to uncertainty. That transition is like going from slavery to freedom. It's the scariest transformation you can imagine. And what makes a slave different than somebody who's free is a mindset. And you will not let go of the slave mindset if you're comfortable. Because slavery has benefits. See, least slavery is I know what to expect. I got my 3 meals coming a day. I know what to expect. When you're free, you don't get that convenience. And the fear of not having that convenience to the point that you have to build your own structure. Some of you guys say, I want to be professional. No, when you're your own entrepreneur, you create professional. You create holidays and days off. You create schools. You create roads. You create legislation. Right? This is a transformation. You handle policing. You handle hospital solutions for everybody. Right? These are things that you have to think about as you grow in a business. These are things that you will impact, at some point even create and control. That whole transition is such a different way of thinking that if you didn't have the stress, you will never leave the mindset, even though you think you're walking a path of freedom. You're a slave walking like you're free.
Mm-hmm. Next.
You got a question?
So when you said that, it made me think about how do you escape the slave mentality even in your own business? Because I think there's a path that you can walk where, you leave your 9 to 5, you open a business and things get comfortable again because you figure out after so many years. How do you remove yourself from the edge of going back into that slave thinking, even if you are a business owner, because you've found comfort in your business?
This is what's really funny about that transition, and I'm sure for the entrepreneurs in the room, they'll tell you. I've talked to many entrepreneurs already in this room. You can go back and get a job again. They'd be like, "Oh no, can't do it." Once you get that taste of freedom, yeah, it's rough, it's wild, it's crazy out there. You're gonna have your struggle points, but I promise you, once you taste that freedom, even Josh, I remember Josh left here, right? Josh has slowly been moving to full acts of freedom. Josh is like, man, I make more money doing less work. This is insane, right? It's because once you become, when you have a job, you're domesticated, you're institutionalized. When you leave your job, you're a wild animal, you're free. You take your free self or your wild self back into that kennel, you start killing other animals, they're gonna kick you out. Because you start saying, well, why are you the supervisor? I looked at your mindset, I'm not sure how you're qualified to be in that position. These decisions you make are absolutely horrible. Are you really looking at the data? Right? You can't do that. That's not gonna work. Even though ultimately, as an entrepreneur, you are the ultimate server. You're not a hero, you're a server. You serve the community, you serve your employees, You serve your family, you serve everybody. And then they reward you with a title of leadership. You don't reward yourself. But once you get used to that, to go back is almost like killing a part of yourself off.
Mm-hmm. Also, too, is
So keep the microphone, Josh. Stop being police.
growth mindset, right? So if you're in a state with a growth mindset, you know that anytime in your business where there feels like a party point or like a relax point or like, oh, it's cool, get paranoid. Feel the hairs on the back of your neck needs to stand up a little bit. Wait a minute. Oh, shit. No, hold on. Let me scrub through my business processes. Let me see how I can improve.
Yeah.
Let me add value. Okay, let me go here because
Well said, bro.
every step of the way in your business, you should always be scrubbing through because every aspect of your business is not an A. Even if even if it feels like you're doing good. If you go to all the different compartments in your business, you got C's, D's, maybe B minuses, B's, maybe you got an A. But now it's time to go back and scrub through. Oh, okay, let me go back to this D because I know I threw that together because I didn't have a lot of time. And let me improve that. Let me invest some time in here, patch this up, clean this up. And it's a never-ending process as the head of your business. So you got a list. I know you do. You have a list right now of hella shit, right? All kind of stuff that you need to do in your business that either backburnered or lower priority, but it's you got some gum and tissue paper sticking some things together. But now, like, this is just a ever evolving thing as an entrepreneur. It just has to be.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I get nervous when everything's running smooth.
My question, I guess a little bit more clarity is it still possible to be an entrepreneur and have a slave mindset?
And have a what?
And have a slave mindset?
Can you
'Cause
possibly
you said it's a point, it's like a perspective.
Can you run a small business like that? Yes, you can.
Massa, come to my business, Massa.
Yeah, you can.
Don't you?
But you're gonna find that if you want to be a good business owner, you're gonna have to think free, because freedom is okay. One of the principles of freedom is radical responsibility. Meaning that whatever happens to you is your responsibility. That block you on, that's your responsibility. You have a four-corner responsibility when you run a business. So when you set up a business in that corner, if there's trash on any of those four corners, that's your trash. I don't care if other kids did it, whoever did it, that's your trash. If there's ran down buildings within those four corners, that's your responsibility to start thinking about, right? Somebody who's a slave is just trying to take care of themselves. I'm just trying to take care of me. But when you start moving toward this acts of freedom, then you here to serve marketing marketing for a business at its core is changing the community you exist in. At its core, you're changing people, and you're changing the community that you exist in. People who are servitude don't think like that. Servitude is a broader way of thinking, a higher level of service. It's a higher level of responsibility. And you're not talking about fairness all day long. The world was never designed to be fair. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, which race you think had a perfect background? And if you think any race had a perfect background, you have a distortion of history. Every race has had some vicious stuff happen to them historically, right? But quite often, African Americans, we think about slavery, and we forget about, like in 1960, between 16 and 32 million Asians was killed by the Chinese government. Million, I didn't say hundreds, right? So while you're over here working on civil rights, the Chinese government is over here killing. Go to South America, how many vicious murders that were happening, right? Go to aristocracy in Europe. It was just, and look at the witch period in Europe when they were just killing women. They said they don't know if it's between 200,000 to millions of women who were just killed because somebody says, oh, she's a witch, and they killed you. No questions. You don't need to ask you, you're a witch. You may lie. So when you sit and hear the complexities of everything around you, you realize this conversation of fairness is a conversation that's happening in a bubble. And when somebody's free to get a chance to feel the world around and realize, yeah, I may have a responsibility to build my nation, but it's going to be what it's going to be. Like, you're going to have obstacles as long as you live. That's part, a free man sees life's obstacles. those who have jobs are like, well, why do I gotta be there? I'm sorry, it is. So at this point, design a system and get around and keep moving. But sitting there and like and complaining about everything and because ultimately when you complain about everything, you suffer. The world don't change, you do.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why it's thinking broader and how to move and how to have impact and how to change things, how to create things. So when you see things in Black community you don't like, that's an opportunity to grow and change it, not something to sit around in a room full of people and become depressed with each other.
True talk. Next slide. Social contagion. So there's two sides of this coin, social contagion, because that's a perfect segue. So we're going to talk about the side A, and that is, we've talked about this before. We're herd animals. We're not carnivores. We thrive. It's in us. It's inert. It's our nature to copy each other. It's in our nature. Most of us, a lot of us who think we independent or we trendsetters or you're not. We intrinsically copy from each other all the time in most aspects, all aspects of our life. And so the process in which we do this is social contagion. There's a lot of mixtures within that too that allow that to stay fertile. You know, competition, desire, aspiration. You throw all those elements into this pot, it creates this social contagion energy around us all. If I see you and you come through and you in this fly outfit, what do people say? Hey, where'd you get that from? Right? And now they're like, oh, they'll pull that shit up right there on their phone. What's the website again? That's social contagion. You see a cool dance on TikTok, and next thing you know, the whole world is doing that dance on TikTok. That's social contagion. Cornrows, dreads, braids, hip hop, dances, everything is copied from everyone. And a lot of times, this irritates me a lot, is as Black culture, we cry a lot about everybody stealing our culture. We steal everybody's culture.
Everybody steals my culture.
Because everybody steals everybody's culture.
That's what human beings do.
I was laughing at one time because I don't know if you remember last year, Jeremy Lin showed up with some cornrows to the game, and he's a Chinese guy, and so Kenyon Martin, a Black athlete, was like, "This is enough. I'm so sick of people appropriating our culture. This is terrible. Look at you. You look crazy with that's our stuff." And Jeremy Lin lit him up so calm. He's like, "Hey, I appreciate that you feel that way, but that Chinese writing tattoo that you have on your arm, do you know what that even means? Because I do. My culture. Reality check, right? Social contagion is
good one.
Social contagion is how we move, the decisions we make, the food we eat. That's why we sometimes will choose popular over effective because of social contagion. It takes a very strong individual to say, no, I'm going to stick with this because it works for me in this moment. When the rest of the world is doing it, when the rest of the world is running the Forex or some other new trend, back when it was different version of that when I was young, whether that's some MLM thing or some new phase and some new fad where everybody's getting money or whatever, it takes a strong person when social contagion is strong to be like, I'm straight, I'm cool, you guys have fun. I hope you do make money, but I'm rocking with this. Because social contagion is hard. When new drugs come out and everybody was popping Molly's or whatever, that's social contagion. Because somebody you know that you respect or love is doing it.
Marijuana.
Weed. Weed for real.
Social contagion.
And it's not, and some of it is not maybe because I need it. It's just because it's great socially. It's like, especially when it wasn't legal, it was a thing to be able to be that person to say, yeah, I'm that dude. I'm that person. So social contagion is heavy. Now, is it bad? No. Because if you flip that thing on its head as an entrepreneur, social contagion is how you generate revenue and scale. That's how you make money. So the whole concept of a virus is what social contagion is. So some of us in this room, or a lot of people we know, have great products, great businesses, great services, amazing things that they have to offer, but there's zero social contagion attached to it, so it don't go nowhere. And you know that person. Like, man, that person is a great rapper. Man, bussin'. How come he ain't popular? Because there's zero social contagion attached to this person. If you're an entrepreneur, you have to learn and be just as adamant about learning how to build social contagion as you are about your business. Period. And it's just like a virus. So if you break a virus down, there's elements to a virus. Some viruses are deadly, but they don't have the ability to multiply and scale like other viruses do. Some viruses are airborne. I could sneeze into the air, and a sneeze is 100 miles an hour. And if the room is lightweight closed, then that viruses are smart. They pick easy transferabilities, the easiest as they can. So viruses are organisms. So they'll attach themselves to things like saliva, because I know humans sneeze and that travels. So you could easily spread the host, because a virus's job is to spread. And it can spread its host by sneezing. Some viruses, you need human touch, physical contact. So if you're in a society where people wears gloves and masks, that virus is going to have a hard time, right? So, and you take that with other types of transferability. If you got to like hop 3 times, do a backflip for that virus to transfer from one person to the next, then you know that virus is not going to be popping. It's not going to be popular. But if it's a super easy transferability, then that's the spread. So you got to look at your business that way. All right, this is my product. Now, if I want this to spread and create social contagion, here is my host. How do I transfer this host? How do I get person A to go to person B and say, you got to try this? Or post it with them rocking it or wearing it. Or, hey, where'd you get that from? So you got to always look for transferability points. When we first started CourseSmith, I had no marketing budget. Lightweight still don't. So I told my designers and myself, look, everything we design is our billboard. That ain't good. That ain't good enough. It has to be dope. I need somebody to ask you, where'd you get that from? I need somebody, because we don't have a marketing budget. So every product we create for now has to be has to market for us. Hey, yeah, I'm calling CourseSmith. I just seen this dude at this tournament and he gave me a number. It's working. The virus, the transferability, the power of the virus is working. Now, the another thing is the power of the virus. Because if somebody is excited enough to say, hey, where'd you get that from? But then that power dies down by the time they get to the car, their home, or whatever. It wasn't strong enough. So you also have to work on the potency. The only way you can do this is by being honest with yourself and being and having transparency about what's working and what's not. If you like, oh, they hating or this ain't, then it'll be hard for you to find that balance or that harmony in the elements that you need to create that social contagion on the business side.
I'll save mine for later. Go ahead. Just how you get the microphone.
Mike Sadi back.
Hey,
Sadi's back, baby.
Hey.
So with social contagion, so we talk about trends fading in and out. So if you're constantly trying to stick with the trend, trying to keep up with the new trend, is there a separation to keeping up with the next new trend, but also maintaining that original brand identity? Because if you change too much, they just going with what's new. They're not real. So what's that balance?
Okay, so let me add some Let me drop down some complexities that go along with it. So, okay, first of all, let's separate. You actually spend all your money on marketing. You have very little money for ads. There's a difference. Marketing is every touch point of your company. So if you talk to a customer, the way you answer your phone, the entryway of your business, the way you have desk on your, what are your desk position, what customers can see, to when a customer receives your product and services, what do they feel the next day? What is the experience of them using your products and services? What is the packaging like, right? Court spends a lot of money on marketing, so he cut that out. He just doesn't, he talk about ads. Ads is like your websites and your brochures, your flyers, right? Now, how do you align all those things? First of all, marketing is an act of discrimination. You literally say, I'm marketing to you, but not you. Because if you market to everybody, you can't have any character to your product, right? You're making Ford Taurus. I just hate that. I think the Ford Taurus is the biggest car ever made in the world, right? But when you make something that's specifically like, let's say you love Porsche, or Shakita might, I don't really like Porsche, I like Lamborghini, right? They know that. So first of all, you have to pay attention to your particular market and design for them. Also, too, you got to become, I think you used this language just a minute ago. Was it you? I think it was you. Become the most trusted advisor. Meaning that you got to kind of be in the culture of the products and services you're selling. If you're not in the culture of the products and services you're selling, you can't feel cultural shifts, because at some point you will become old school. You'll become the OG. You don't want to be trying to sell your VCR tapes in 2022. It just might not make that much money, right? And so at the end of the day, you do have to adjust to some of the cultural changes. But this is the next word we got to think about is brand. Brand is, what is your business personality? So when you're in business, what is your, like for example, you're always, like you ain't wearing the same clothes you've been wearing the last 10 years ago. And if you are, then you probably need to have a talk off the camera. But you've been changing clothes as each era changes, but just the way you wear your clothes, right? That's what your personality. Now it's different every time you came in here today, you black, tomorrow you're a Valley girl, next day you dress like Trump, next day you dress like Obama. I'm like, okay, this is overwhelming me, right? You all, and that's the kind of person, some people when you hustling, they do that. They become whatever, like he knows more hustlers than I know. They'll become whatever you need to handle that transaction, right? They think about it short term. You're trying to build relationships. So in building relationships, how do you need to show up in that relationship to be authentic all the time? That's what your brand is. How I'm going to show up in that space. When you first start a business, ads don't really do a lot for you. And that's what he was trying to highlight. What ads do is you're trying to talk to everybody, and everybody's don't care about you because they're talking about themselves. Right? Like when people go online, they're like, man, look at me. Let me tell you what happened today. Look at my picture of me. Oh my God, look at me comb my hair. Oh my God, look at me eat my food, right? And you're like, you want to buy my product? I'm like, hold on, watch out. Well, look at me. That's what happens, right? So who you're really marketing to when you first start is your relationships. Your relationships. Then your relationships goes out and they create compounding growth by sharing with other people, and then it becomes infectious, and then you have a contagion effect, right? But we quite often go online thinking that it's mass media. It's the biggest lie. Your brain can't even process it. Yes, the internet is mass, but it's so segmented, it's small. Only 7% of business actually happens on the internet. It might be up to 10 or 12 because of COVID, but most of the business still happens in person or face-to-face or through brick and mortar. So in theory, you go online trying to talk to everybody and adjust to everybody. That's your hustle. That's not marketing. That's bad. That's just transactional business. Really, it's about smart relationships. This is why when you go in public, when you decide you want to become an entrepreneur, it's like trying to become a politician. You got to pay attention to your character and how you show up. Because if you're online cussing people out, becoming trashy online, whatever you're doing, or you trying to be bucket naked online, that's going to impact your brand of your business. Because when you first start, your personality is tied to your business. Now, once you expand, they become separate, right? But when you first start, it's directly connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, too, is we have to understand we're buying branding and culture more so than we're buying clothes or buying products. That hoodie, that Nike hoodie an Adidas hoodie and 5 other Under Armour hoodies are all made in the same factory with the same materials, slightly different colorways, slightly different print.
And he knows.
You're buying the branding. So here's a deal. Let's say Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour. They all sell a black hoodie, right? But when you think of Nike, what do you think? Just do it. What else? Performance. When you think of Adidas, what do you think about? 3 stripes, style. When you think of Under Armour, what do you think about? Trash. Trash. Sorry, I slipped out.
Yeah, you okay? Okay. He caught some time like that.
But you see, you guys said different things for the different brands, even though the product is exactly the same. That's what you're buying. You go buy that Gucci purse, they can sell you all the intricacies of the lamb wool, the thing that was made in the embossed or whatever. You're not buying. $1,300 does not justify that. You're buying the brand. So, and you're also part of the social contagion of the product, because the social currency you get by walking around with that bag makes that $1,300 valuable.
Let me add some pimp game to that now. So he showed you how to think about it as a business owner. So let me show you how you need to think about it from the minds of the consumer. They're buying status. So that's why that's why the trend of raising prices is a thing, because in a world where everybody's seeking status and they're hungry for status, when I buy a Gucci purse, which I would never buy that because I'm not that dude, but if I buy a Gucci anything, which I just can't see it, but okay, when I buy Harley, okay, I'm gonna just stay in my space. You watch yourself. When I buy Harley stuff, right? Harley knows I'm purchasing status. When I'm right down the street, I know I feel my status. When the heads turn and my engine rev, and that music sounds so good, come on now. But anyway, point is this. I'm buying status, right? And so you have to understand, sometimes when you guys go to the customer and trying to give them discounts, they want status. They don't want discount.
Man, shit.
Can I add something to that?
Okay. Well, we got. Okay. Well, yeah. Go ahead. Well, I negotiate it.
I was wondering if you could clarify, because I guess in my previous notion, and your definition is, I thought it was I might have the wrong definition. What is the difference between social contagion and social capital? Kind of based on your scenario, I was like, oh, I thought that was also, are they similar or one and the
Social capital is based on value. Social contagion is based on spreading ideas. Our beliefs, actually beliefs, not ideas, beliefs. And so, and it's the unconscious. Okay, so remember this, people. The environment is the invisible hand controlling your subconscious. The environment is the invisible hand controlling your subconscious. In that process, because I'm going to get deeper into social contagion so you can see it coming and see how to spread it after July. This is why what he's going over today, I feel like, I'm not into that twinsy stuff. And I'm not into like the spiritual connection stuff because it's just not my type of thing. But this is some weird stuff that he be teaching. Like, it's like, dude, how do you know I'm about to teach this? This is ridiculous anyway. So anyway, social capital is based upon a value process, and that can be defined in different ways and based upon different applications of the principle. But the environment you're in is spreading many ideas that you've never taken time to validate for yourself. Okay, I'm gonna do this real quick. This is gonna mess with you. Culture is a hallucination. Y'all gonna miss Christmas? Culture is a hallucination. Now, do I push that to the public? No. For entrepreneurs, yes. Culture is really a combination of stories and beliefs. So you have to know how to navigate those stories and beliefs. Otherwise, you are following a trend. You're not following the path that's best for you, your family, your community.
Yo, okay. And so here's some cold game too. Is that you ever leave something out in your kitchen or whatever, and you see one ant, and you say, "Huh, it's one ant," and you do the little smash thing or whatever. And then a little while later, you see like 3 or 4 ants, and you're like, oh, okay, well, no big deal. And then the next day you come, and it's the whole army, right? We're no different as humans. In the market, it's split up in 4 different sections. First section is your trendsetters. That's the one ant. Trendsetters is the one ant. They're willing to get smashed because they live and die by the fact that they were the first. I don't care if I get roasted by everybody right now, because I know in a year this thing's gonna be in, and you're gonna be like, oh man, Charlize was the one wearing that first. And that social currency you get, that social status you get from that feeling of being known as a trendsetter is worth more than any 3 and 4 ants that come later. They're the early adopters. The trendsetters give them permission to go. Okay, all right, is it okay? Cool. If you went, all right, we gonna go too. So if that one guy who's hip hop, urban, thug, wears a dress, right? It's gonna be 3 or 4 people that come after it to wear that dress too, and everybody else is like, man, y'all tripping, right? That's the way the culture moves in our particular culture, right? So those 3 or 4, and they just, some of them are trendsetters, but they just don't have the courage of the trendsetter. So they just sit and wait right behind that trendsetter to give them permission to make that move. And then they go. So after the trendsetters is that first wave. Those are early majority is what they're called. Early majority. So the early majority, they just sitting back waiting for the early adopters to say, yeah, no, it's cool. I wore this outfit and I got comments, people saying that's dope. It's clear. It's good. So the early adopters come in, and that's where that big wave comes in. I mean, the early majority come in. That's the first half of the big wave. The second half of that big wave is the late majority. Now, once that late majority comes, for the most part, how trends typically happen, it starts kind of being a wrap. It's kind of time to sell the company, or like people start getting ready to move on away from it because it's too popular. Because guess what happens? The minute the early majority starts wearing that product, the trendsetters stop. They don't want to be associated with that no more. You corny. I don't want to be associated with them. So they go off and look for another thing to trend set, and then the process starts all over again. When you're marketing and branding, who are you marketing to? If you're always trying to find that trendsetter, that market's too small. That market's tiny. If you want I never tripped, like we have NBA players that are part of Court Smith now, but for 7.5 years, I never even cared. I'm not tripping off them because I need, like, the customers are the ones that I'm focusing on. The early adopters are the ones that I focus on, because the NBA players will come during the summer back to the hood and go kick it with that one dude who was just as good but didn't make it, but everybody looks up to him. And he's a stylish one, and that's where he gets his style from. I give him the free stuff. And then the NBA dude's like, what, is that the new thing that's popping now? Yep. Like, so understand this in your market. It's not just market, right? That's how the social contagion bell curve happens.
Hopefully Court shares more with you about, he has a whole bunch of strategies like that. There are grassroots strategies that are excellent for getting you to a very stable position in business. So hopefully he shares more with those with you. So, okay, go ahead, Kaja. Yeah.
It's on. Okay. When you're building certain kind of businesses that are really based around service, right? Like calling attention to businesses and other entrepreneurs, how are you quantifying that, right? Like, I spend a lot of my time doing that, but most of the things that I'm doing right now in preparation to an entrepreneurial role are costing me. And I understand that's just like the initial setup, but I don't have any way to, or I can't think of any way to, outside of like affiliate marketing, to quantify impact. I know the conversations I'm having with people where they appreciate me putting certain brands in front of them or certain experiences in front of them, but I don't know how I could translate that to a monetary outcome, because I don't have any way to quantify impact in this specific type of business model.
You know, there's level way different quantifying things change as you evolve. But in the beginning, are you getting people excited about paying for your service? It's almost that simple. If you don't have any momentum, you know, one of my greatest fear about as far as business owners is they start planning how to connect stars to Mars and they haven't figured out how to connect the pipes in the house. Right? You're moving too far. A lot of that research is for scaling. In the early stages, it's about paying so close attention to the people around you, and do they value it and will they spend money for it? And using your empathic measuring tools to really gain access to conversations, how to properly align the experiences. You want people to feel like when they pay you, they feel like they should pay you more. And you're already at a great price point. Mm-hmm. But you can actually get that experience also too. Let me say this other thing too. This is where that not feeling like you're good enough has a lot to do with this. This is everybody, because this is a cultural contagion. This is the Black COVID is not feeling like we're good enough. But that's a new strain and it's real.
Ooh, that's cold.
But the thing that's
cold. Let's stop. That's cold. The Black COVID though.
But it's spread that bad. It's so bad because we don't feel like we're good enough. And you got to build a friction team. You got to build a friction team. A friction team is a group of people that are highly intelligent enough that they can give you good insights. You don't want a group of people like, oh, I don't know about that shit, girl. What does that mean? You know what I mean? That shit right there. Like, that's not, I don't need that. I need you to give me some insights, right? But you need a friction team that can actually sit down with you and give you that feedback that you don't want to hear all the time. And I promise you, I can say that, you could nod your head, but to keep that team is harder than to get that team. Mm-hmm. Because your defensiveness or the friction you give them or the price they have to pay to give you advice makes that a short-lived team. Mm-hmm. You need a team that can learn you, provide feedback, become investigators for you, and share what other people are saying about you to help you align. Once you gain a large, because really, remember, you're not trying to provide service for everybody. You're trying to provide service for a channel of people. And the best channel people start with is the channel you have access to. And then you can expand outside that channel, because at some point it does grow outside of your controls, right? But I think sometimes when you come from corporate America, you see how these big corporations are using these impressive, amazing tools, which at some point you do need to embrace. But in the early stages, can you sell this apple to your friend? If none of your friends buy Apple from you, then that's your first level of training. Like, there's stages of growth in this game. Mm-hmm. And so by you being able to align with the market you have access to, and then have a friction-based team that says, yo, I saw your flyer, it was cool, but it kind of sucked. Stop trying to, don't be like, can you speak to me different and make me feel good? Remember that at the end of the day, their negative is a gift. It's like medicine. I don't know about y'all. When I was a kid, I used to hate the taste of medicine. Now I'm an adult, but when I was a kid, I hated the taste. It's that type of medicine for you as an adult. So if you don't have the proper friction team, and most of us have applause team around us. Mm-hmm. You go, girl. You the greatest. Oh my God, I never seen anybody like you. You know you fabulous, right? Like that's just not the team you need. I have a guy on my team, Dre, and by the way, his mother passed, so you know. My heart goes out to him.
Sorry to hear that.
And but Dre is arriving. I think he's probably, and I'm not saying this he's probably one of the coldest street photographers in the nation. He's about to release a book. So I see him the other day, and guess the first thing I said to him? I'm his friction team. I said, Dre, dude, these pictures are amazing. Do me a favor, lose all that weight. You're too big. You're too big. You can't perform at a certain level that you need to perform at to grow this product. Now, if I was his yes team, I'm like, boy, you hella tight. Man, I can't wait to see you at the top. See you later, man. And then I walk away, he hella fat though. Right? And you know what he said to me when it was all over? Yo, bruh, I hella appreciate you. I hella, like no one ever comes at me like that. But I know, Dre, the way you're performing and the way you're gonna have to move around, you're not gonna be healthy for long, bro. And you are at the point of you're about to blow up. And whatever you were going through, let's talk it out. That harshness, everybody can't talk to you like that, but he's giving me the permission to sit in my space with him, to support him and share those things that other people won't say, because everybody's trying to be kind to everybody because we're so sensitive about how people feel. So use the people around you, and if nobody's giving you feedback, start getting some new people around you. I'm not even joking with you, because I've seen it happen. Like, I've seen intelligent people like you, Kaj, because Kaj, you're fucking smart, man. So I've seen so many people like you who are extremely intelligent. Kaj, the other thing that's hella tight about you, you ain't scared of nothing, it seems like. You go in neighborhoods I don't go into. I just ain't never seen no stuff like that. But anyway, so Kaj be going to parties. I'm like, Kaj, I don't understand why you went to that party. Everybody had guns.
Apartment C? You be going to apartment C?
She be at apartment C.
I like the hood, and because I'm not from here, I feel like I'm discovering areas all the time.
Yeah, apartment C.
That's like going to
Mingles in
man. That's like going to Compton wearing the wrong colors. It don't make no sense. But anyway, but the point is that I love. But the thing is, what bothers me is also too, Kaji, because you are performing well in corporate America. You're no joke in corporate America. So you ain't like you in this room thinking about what you're gonna do with your next dollar. Your dollars are all over the place. Be careful of people who also admire you too much, because they won't be honest with you. So you gotta be careful. You gotta find people who can really come at you, and you can cry some nights on your own. It's okay. But like he said, without pain, there's no growth. This ain't a game of comfort. And like I said, a sister like you, I think my greatest, and this I think is my personal trauma, I hate to see powerful black women who don't make it. My mother was an alpha female, and she never reached her full potentials. But when I say I watched her to a point that I still use her as one of my number one heroes. And so when I see powerful women, I see beautiful, powerful women just like you, who come into America with a dope-ass dress, who come into corporate America all the time, and I mean, coming from corporate America, try to get into this entrepreneur world, surround themselves with people who are trying to encourage them. They're not trying to hurt you. They're just trying to encourage you. But they also betraying you because they're not giving you the information you need.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I don't want to belabor the point, but I just want to say thank you, because I have that friction team, and I fight the shit out of them on a regular basis, because in my mind, people questioning you all the time means they think you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, you can.
I'm trying to get out of that mindset.
First of all, y'all, seriously applaud her, because she said something that all y'all really feel. Yo, that was, Kaja, that was so damn tight you said that. I'm so tired of people not saying that. That level of honesty already lets me know you're changing. Mm-hmm. I hear so much of the other bullshit all the time. Well, the reason, because first of all, the shit she be saying be all wrong anyway. Like, that ain't your position. When you change it all sounds wrong, right? And you fighting them, it's really a personal journey of personal, hey, once you arrive to a certain point, you're going to always might feel a little stab in that chest, but you'll learn to shut up and let it come. And you learn to sit with it and then let it on appreciate it. And eventually it'll get shorter and shorter to the point that it'll become appreciation when it first comes in. But there's times when people come to me with advice, I go like this, and I'm like, shut up, Nana. Shut the fuck up. Don't say nothing. Because Nana's ready to be like, yeah, I know all kind of kung fu. You ain't never seen this fool, right? And it's like, no, shut up. And then when I shut up and I sit with it, sometimes it's just 10% of truth in everything they said, but that 10% changed my whole life. Mm-hmm. So it's not, defensiveness is something we've been doing for so long and normalizing our culture for so long, and the social justice shit is amplifying it to a point that is not even healthy. Mm-hmm. Everybody can't love you, man. Cut this out. The world wasn't designed to love you. Here's the funny part, and you don't love everybody. That's the funny part. Mm-hmm. Ain't nobody in this room love everybody. Cut it out. Mm-hmm. There's a cousin or auntie, you like, if she come over right now, I promise you, on everything I own. So let's just cut that out.
You got one question right here. Go ahead, Lily. Oh.
Hi. My question is, does it depend on the business that you have? So my goal is to become a certified financial planner and be able to really help a lot of not just us, but just anyone who wants to be better, have better, basically generational freedom. Sometimes I talk about wealth, but wealth doesn't always mean that you're free. So, but when I'm talking about finance, what you would call my friction team, like my friends and family, they know my background, they know my story, and they also see in my struggle. So if I'm talking to them about finance, but they like, well, look where you at. How are you? How is it helping? So I don't really know how to apply what you are talking about at this particular time to my business, because with finance, they like, girl, get some money, then we're gonna talk, then we're gonna listen. So I really don't know what to do.
First of all, man, what is this? Is it the new building? Because they asking questions like, yo, the vulnerability that y'all showing up to, I'm going to show so much love and respect for y'all, because whether you guys know it or not, you guys are doing revolutionary stuff for your people. Because a lot of your people their ego is so strong, they're imprisoned by their ego. And so for you to show the vulnerability that you're showing, you're speaking for so many people. Your family said to you, now, did you mention something? Did you have a problem with the advice they said back to you? They gave to you?
No, it's that I created a focus group, and I was like, okay, let me just practice with you guys. This is the information that I want to put out. And so it's like they love the information, but they never move forward and book a consultation, or never move forward and become.
Were you bothered by that? Were any of that bother you?
Yeah.
It shouldn't have. That was good feedback. And you're going to learn this the next 6 months. It's going to get crazy. There's so much junk science in every category, especially that world. There's so many sharks and wolves. And it's human beings, you're tapping with human beings' deepest level of trust. Somebody will date somebody before they let you touch their money. Let me just be strictly, like money is like a deep, deep, deep level of trust. You're going to have to master on how to tap that deepest level of other people's trust. And you're going to have to realize that once you decide that's what you want to do, you're going to have to figure out what story and what image they need to see for you to achieve that. So when I mean image, let me say this real quick. Let's say your neck was tattooed and up to your ears. Let's just say that was, right? And this is what you want to do. I'll tell you, hey, you're going to get some surgery, bro. Because I don't see too many people saying you can have access to my millions of dollars and you're looking like you about to break it as soon as you get access, right? 2, right? 2, you got to also discover the good information versus the pop information. And so the reason they say if it's not working for you, I can't trust you, is because you got to finish your journey of discovering because all of it sounds good when you first start. I promise you, any new field as complex as that, any form of science, psychology, physiology, any type of science. When you first enter, the pop science sounds just as good as, the pop science sounds better than the real science. Often we don't like the real science because it's too complex and it's too many layers and it's hard to transfer in simple conversation, right? So, and it's a different form of discipline, form of thinking. Use those people. If they're not impressed with you, that means you got to grow to another level to the point they're like, whoa, you're serious about this. Also, the amount of time you've been doing it also matters. If you only been doing it, say 6 months, they look at you like, okay, whatever. Let's say you're 3 years into the game, you serious about it. I have friends who been investing. When they first started investing, they gave me all this horrible advice, and I didn't listen to them. They're 10 years into the game. If you talk to them now, they're totally different. And I also see them as real investors, right? So it does take time, right? And it does take commitment to the culture and learning how people think about that industry and what are the emotional ties to it and how to align to subside or to align with those needs, right? But never believe because you have something to deliver, people should accept it. Even if you just bake cake, you just bake cake. There's so many other people baking cake. How do you cut through that noise and say no? Remember I talked about don't focus on originality, focus on domain authority. How do you get to the point that people see you, that you are the domain, you have the domain authority over finance? And that does require some responsibilities. So there's nothing wrong with that. Thank God that industry requires that journey to be respected. Otherwise, could you understand how many people would pimp the game? See, that's what it is. Mm-hmm. So that's all the time. So I can't begin to say thank you, and thank you for that question. God, I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to go back and to your point around discounts and status.
I love your voice, by the way.
Oh,
your voice. Actually, I almost wanted to put you here and I go sit in your seat. Very good voice. Very great voice. Go ahead.
So you mentioned using discounts is counterintuitive or doesn't work for people who want to buy status. I'm wondering what's the real difference between discounts and tiers? Because I remember, Court, in an earlier class, you mentioned using tiered pricing.
Yes.
And I'm trying to figure out that strategy and how to use it in my own business. So I have a K-12 consulting business, and some of my clients have been able to meet my pricing, but I've also had a few who have come back and said it's challenging with their budgets. There's low enrollment. There's a lot of issues going on in education right now. But fortunately, have had some private funders who've been able to subsidize their work. So I'm still getting the same amount, but for them, it seems like they're getting a discount. So I'm just trying to figure out how to best use that because I do recognize private funding is not, or at least, right, I don't want to assume that private funding is a good strategy in the long run. So I'm just trying to understand.
Build offer variations.
Okay.
So what I mean by offer variations, I can provide a service tier A, B, and C. You don't have that much budget? Because, okay, can we go over the real story about consultants? You don't fix anybody's company. You just help them think and take a different level of ownership. Because you're not going to be there tomorrow. If you get them a perfect solution, you're not the actor that's going to carry the solution out, right? So in the end, they got to carry the solution out. So sometimes we overcommit ourselves and we personalize our services and think if I got to offer A because it's so important. Sometimes all you need is C. But then you make sure you reduce your time so you can fill that and make sure that your hourly value or your service hourly value or your cost of doing business aligns with that C level, B level versus A level, right? Don't go rigid on A because those who want to brag about A, going to brag about A. And those who can get a C, like for example, Mercedes-Benz has a tier system. You can go get that, that $200,000-$300,000 Mercedes-Benz, Maybach, or you can go down and get that $32,000 Mercedes-Benz, something I never heard of.
In class. Class.
Okay.
I don't know.
No, it might be it's the student version. The S version, ST version, students. Right. So the point is that yeah, I don't have a Mercedes student, but I can't afford a class. So adjust that, and also don't over personalize the experience you provide for people. Think about what is try to figure out what's the core need and what is a simpler deliverable, so you still offer satisfaction, right? But don't lock yourself into that. I have to do all of these different things, because ultimately, quiet as is kept, you would have to do some real data research to figure out what's the difference between C-level service and A-level service as far as impact in the long term. It's how they say about major universities, they're not sure if it's the education or is it that the kids that go into the school come from successful families and relationships they already have. So a lot of times you can get over-focused on no, my education has to be at this certain level. When you discover the kids, it doesn't really matter. They leave your school, even if they went to a community college, they would have the same economic output because they have a high level of relationships. So it's a distortion. Sometimes when we're teaching or offering a service of that sort, you need to know the difference, but sell the opposite. Sell value, but just know C can also give them A, and C is a subtle variation from it, but it sounds totally different based upon the amount of time and commitment of your deliverables.
And this too is make sure that you're selling your value. A lot of times when customers say, oh, it's too expensive, that's good feedback. Because what they're actually saying is you're not doing a good enough job in selling me your value or the price that you're asking for. So then there needs to be some more work done in priming, framing, and anchoring your customer so that when the next time they walk in there, they expect to pay more than what you're asking. And you're like, oh, okay, okay, man, that's it. When they say that's it, then there's more work to be done. That means you got to keep ratcheting up because I learned this 3 years ago here. Price is arbitrary. When governments and people say their budgets is whatever, it's bullshit. Because when you can sell that value, they will go and say, no, we need this. We gotta have this. So understand that no doesn't mean no in business. It just means, all right, I gotta do better job at selling my value. That's on that end. And I think he said it super eloquently on the other end, is saying, don't be so rigid on that side to say, I only have this option is a top tier. If somebody says, well, I see what all you offer in your menu, you offer A through Z. How much would you charge me to just do F? And you're like, no, you got to pay for the whole thing. Well, no, just make sure you get paid very well for F, but they're able to maybe take some things off the menu in that particular regard.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. I tunneled. Thank you. He gave the example last week. Buy from Gucci, buy from Durant Square. Same product. Right? A lot of times we're kind of showing up maybe Eastmont Mall, maybe not Durant Square, or maybe MacArthur Broadway Shopping Center. Y'all don't know about that. NB Mall, yeah. Some of y'all too young for that. But Shabisha, you better watch yourself because I'm gonna tell your secrets. So the thing is that, but a lot of times our marketing branding can't change the value of our pricing. I used to tell this horrible story about Gangsta Brown, who was a Bay Area pimp, and he told me the story one day when I was working for his mother. This was when I was like 17, 18, or 19. I can't remember when I was younger. And he said, "Young blood, come here." He said, if my girl's out all day long and all she made was $5, would I take it? And she has a child to feed. I was like, nah. He goes, no, I take it. She'll find 5 more. And he walked away. And I was like, oh, that's disgusting. But in business, that's true.
Absolutely.
Customers find money when they want to do something. Get out of customers' pockets.
Yes.
Get your hand out their pocket.
Get out of, yes.
When customers want something, same as you. Yeah, you might be like, yo, I'm only going to spend this kind of money. And then you see the item you want, and somehow your money just gets long. Right? And then when you find something you don't like, all of a sudden your money gets you start having all kind of conservatives surrounding it. We can't spend that. We have to cut the budget. We're over the deficit. It's just too much right now. I can't buy that fruit. It's too expensive at this Whole Foods. Mm-hmm. Right? But you see that wine, you become liberal. But we need it. It's so important that we have to help the world. Mm-hmm. Right? And so what I'm suggesting to you is that it's really a game of marketing. And so a lot of times the people, and so also too, when somebody first says your price is too high, can you counter sell instantly? Well, I thought this was serious to you. Let me explain to you what goes into it and let me know if this is too much. Maybe I'm going to offer you too much. I thought the problem was that serious. But what we can do is shrink it down to how I apply myself. And what you're doing is you're pushing them back up. Mm-hmm. Or you can say to them like, well, we can get you here, but it's probably going to cost you more on the back end once I leave at this point to finish the process. There's ways you can, there's so many, and that's why, like, find a book. This is, okay, let me make it even easier because I need to show you how to gain ownership faster. If it becomes something that really bothers you and you get uncomfortable, where it feels like, I hear you, I know where direction to go, but I feel like I still can't see the steps, so it's covered with leaves. Then you find a subject of the book. You can start with a podcast first to make yourself feel comfortable, and find a book on how to improve your sales, or how to improve your services, or like find these books that you can read on your own, that you can practice. It's like imagine this class is teaching you how to get into the NBA, but y'all still don't go to practice. You still got to shoot your jump shots. So there's layers to this practice game, and so he was 100% right. I totally left out marketing. So marketing and being able to reverse the sales is extremely critical.
Yep. So who still has the mic in the hand? Who has the mic in the hand? There's 2 mics out there. Who has it? All right. So Shabisha, when you think of Do you know the brand Nature's Best? When you think of that brand, what do you think about?
The yellow label.
The yellow label.
The yellow label that I always see in the supermarket.
When you know about Newman's Own, is it called?
Yes.
When you think about that brand, what do you think about?
Like old family recipes, traditional home style stuff made in the kitchen. Passed down recipes.
What about Tom's, the shoes?
I'm familiar with them. I think about their philanthropy. Like when you purchase from them, they give a pair of shoes to someone who doesn't have them in other countries.
Okay, who knows Newman's Own? Pass the mic around. Let's see. Charlize.
Don't leave silence out. He feel like me too.
Go ahead. What do you think about Newman's Own?
Lemonade, pink lemonade, refreshing. I buy that a lot, so that's a good brand.
Do you? What about Tom's?
I was thinking philanthropy. They've definitely made themselves a household name by pushing their philanthropy marketing.
Silence.
No.
Silence. She looked at me like, motherfucker, what? Like when Shabishi was about to sock Josh, she gave me that same look. Sorry, go ahead.
Newman's Own?
Yep.
Salad dressing.
Salad dressing.
Yeah.
What about Tom's?
Not fly. That's
not fly?
not mine.
Hey man, get that back away from me. He has a bit of breakdown.
Silence is the trendsetter. So of course he's gonna say not fly. Of course he's gonna say not fly. So the little exercise we had is this. When you are intentional about your values, they will spill out into your brand. Into not just what you say your brand is, but what other people say. So when we said Tom's, they're intentional about it because every single person said philanthropy. Everybody, except Silence, he said not fly. But because they push that narrative hard, and that is part of their value system. So the same thing with other companies. Now, Newman's Own has a similar philosophy in their branding, in their business. They donate percentage. Matter of fact, they donate all of their profit to nonprofit organizations. But you see, it didn't come out in their brand. It was, they're known for this, lemonade, salad dressing. So they have all these different products that you buy that you can buy anywhere else. But in their value system, it's a huge, just probably more of a stronger give back than Tom's. But it's part of their values. So to go answer your question back there, it's like, damn, so do we just keep hopping from trend to trend to trend to trend? When you build your company around your values as the core, there's certain things that ain't gonna change. Then there's certain things on the surface that are gonna change sometimes just based on new trends and colorways and, oh, it's autumn colors this time, it's pastel this year, it's this. But the core basics of your brand will stay solid based on your values, what's important to you, what's most important to you. Those are your values in this company. The reason why we here is based on our values. And everything around our companies are colored with those values. You walk into my office, it's nothing but black and brown folk. Nothing. Because the values of wanting to be a part of a company that helps and assists and builds our culture is in me. It's so strong that it oozes out in my company. So then when people say, man, what's going on? It's crazy. They in there, man. It's getting it. They look young black folks look like us. Brown folks look like us getting it because it's a core value. Now, does designs change or sometimes? Yes, but there's limits to where it will go because you're not going to seep past my values. Certain things, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to design that. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to do that because then that's a conflict of what's important to me. When you ask how you understand what your values are in business is the question, what's most important to me in my business, my relationship, my life? And when you write that down, those are your values. Those are your values. What's most important to me in a mate? Looks. They got to be this. And a lot of times that falls short because they got to be this amount of height. They got to do this. They got to make this much money. Those are weak values. And then you'll end up in some fucked up relationships because your values are so weak that you're taking anybody who fits these shallow categories.
Yep, make a good sandwich.
Understand, that is that is understanding your values. So in business, you want people to, when your values are strong, they're not going to be like, well, what do you think about your brand? Red T-shirts. What? Red T-shirts? That's all you know them for? Red T-shirts? Because you got to stand for something. You got to be able, and when you stand for something, that's how you attach to a crowd. Anybody with a certain set of values has a crowd. Donald Trump has a crowd. No matter how you may disagree or agree with his values, anytime you stand on your values, you attract a crowd. So values are powerful. And so most of the time when people are ain't got no spine, when there's people that you refer to or think about that ain't got no spine, what you're saying is they have no values. They hustlers. They'll do anything for a dollar because they value the dollar.
My question is there a clash for me? I feel like there was a clash between my values and feeling like I was having like this imposter syndrome.
What do you mean by that?
So like in finance, you have to speak of things as if not if you haven't, but just educating. And I feel like I didn't have enough experience to really consistently be able to talk and educate. I felt like I was running out of things to talk about. So that let me know I didn't know enough or I wasn't at enough skin in the game. So that started to affect like, well, was I good enough? And is this the right thing for me? And the things that I do value, it seemed like it was coming off too aggressive to other people for some reason.
Give me one of the values. Share with me one of your values.
Integrity. I feel like a lot of times when it comes to finance, you feel like you can't trust that person. And so for me, I have the best interest at heart for the client. To really win, I don't win unless you win. So let's make, even if I have to, take that road with you to get to where, let's say, if people take a high-end product or you have this product that you think is the best for the client, but they're not ready, are you willing to take that, let's say, 6 months to a year of coaching and prepping and meeting with them monthly and just getting them in the right mindset, all that stuff. So I feel like that's one of my key values is being able to basically be your teammate and walk that road with you until you are ready.
Kid, what's her brother who just died? What's her brother Sammy?
Nipsey Hussle.
No, Kevin Samuel. Kevin. Okay, I'm going to Kevin Samuel you real quick and fix some of the value because your values are off. You a high? What's the word you use? High value. You're a high value sister, right? I got to fix those.
What that mean?
And with high value sisters, is your values are in the wrong place. So the women who were always coming to Hall in this show, their values were in the wrong place. I watched the show twice. It was hard to keep watching it because it was a pool of stuff. It was really entertainment more than it was a healthy show. Even the people who called it, there was a desire to be there. So couldn't feel sorry for anybody because why'd you call him? But you don't have integrity. You don't have values, clear values yet, and it's going to take a little time. So first of all, the first point you have is patience. Patience is that anytime you start a new industry, he'll tell you this, it takes time to grow to the point that other people value what you have to offer, right? But in that process, you should experience growth and economic growth, personal growth, learning. Like you should become a person you become proud of, which helps you feel better about who you are. Because you start to you put the time to be there, right? If you get there too fast, it's like winning the lottery. You can't sustain it because you didn't develop the values from taking the journey. But number two, you got to step back a little bit further and ask yourself, but why am I trying to help them? Where are they trying to go? Who am I trying to help? And if they get there, what does that mean? Like you have to have these bigger, deeper, invested questions that allow you to say, oh, this is what I want to be able to show up to. And this is the type of person I am in this industry. Also, more exposure you get to your competition. You may even develop that, you may get a shortcut way of getting there by you meet somebody and go, oh, I want to be like that person and what they stand for. But I want to do it this way, right? So there is a deeper level. Your integrity is good business. How you show up and how you care about people is good business. How you deliver your service is good business. Your value is something that's even deeper than that. It's like, for example, me and Court value the empowerment of the African-American community. We deeply value that. What does selling sports gear have to do with that? You see the difference? It does, but it just got to see that connection. What does selling branding and marketing services have to do with that? It's because at the end of the day, we're not trying to take on the whole issue of changing the whole Black community. Is what role do what type of soldier are we going to be to that community that we want to serve, right? So our value doesn't have to do with our day-to-day steps, but it does impact our day-to-day steps. So in my company, I believe in Black excellence, not Black perfectionism, because Black perfectionism is a mental illness. Black excellence. In my attempt to achieve Black excellence, then it means that I have to. That's my connection, and that's part of me gifting a standard back to my community. That's my value showing up. So now when you walk into my business, if Court came to me and checked me and said, dude, this isn't like Black excellence, that's going to bother me because that's tied to my values. But also when I talk to clients, I don't run. If you go to 5tmedia.com, it's probably going to say something about Black something. I think it's called Black BS, which is Black branding service, something like this. But Black, I think it's called Black. If you look, because Moshama just recently changed it. If you go to my website, we run towards our Blackness, right? But when we deliver the services, we're competing with our Euro counter family members in the game. Our Euro brothers and sisters who are doing marketing, they're our honest competition. So we have to still hit the same levels of expertise they're hitting, but our outcome is tied to our values and the way you see our company and who calls on us. People are like, hell, I want a Black company to bring this expression to this product and service. They call 5T Media. They don't call me and say, hey, can you do something that feels like, like fairies and Disneyland and a lot of pink and flowers and like people doing social justice and poetry. Can you do that for us? I'd be like, poorly. That's not what I do. It's not in me. So your value is like, once again, business is by discrimination. I work for you, not for you.
Okay.
Another thing is this, is the reason why we call this the wild is that customers have the option to do and go and buy and spend their money on whatever they want. They don't have to fool with us. They don't have to fool with you. So there's 1,000 yous out there that offer the same service at different levels in business. So then if you go and say, hey, this is what I do, this is what I offer. And they say, well, show me what you got. How has it worked for you? And you're like, well, I'm not there yet. Somebody else is in their ear who has that experience. Say, hey, look outside. Look at my Mercedes S-Class. Look at my this and that and the other, which gives more believability to them, that it gives them the option to go right. I would never teach this class if I wasn't an entrepreneur. I wouldn't even come close. I'd be sitting in that seat, period. And the moment I got some momentum or traction or start generating some revenue that I felt was at a level where I could be of service to people, then I jump in and say, all right, what things can I do to help? What things can I do to add value to whoever is below me? You know what I'm saying? So the first thing because that's what, to me, integrity is, right? Integrity is, I'm not going to give you nothing to smoke that I ain't smoked myself. I know that's a bad idea. All right, let me try that again. I'm not going to give you no food that I haven't tried myself, right? Reason being is because they have to know that you've tried. They have to feel that you like you said, you walk that road from beginning to end. That's where the trust factor comes in. And if in 30 seconds you can't explain that, I'm not saying you don't do it. What you can do is, have you ever walked into a place to get your hair done or to a barber shop, and you walk in a chair and you say, all right, come on, sit down. And he's like, yep, this is my first day cutting hair ever. And you're like, wait a minute, what? Well, I went to the seminars and I went to all the trainings and I got the certificates, but this is my first day on the job. What? Hell no. Now, guess what? Do people go to people to get their hair cut who have zero experience? Yes. But what is the environment? They know it's an environment of training. They go there, they know they're going to get the super duper plug. It's 70% off to give that person experience. So in business, you can have the same kind of mentality and say, look, I know I'm not there yet. I'm on my way there. So I'm not going to give you this big menu of prices that full price on stuff because I don't have the authority to do that. But this is what we're going to do for me to get experience. I'm almost going to apprentice this situation with you. And then I learn, you learn. And then when you rack up enough experience based on you discounted the price like an apprentice hairdresser or hair cutter, but you're getting the experience, then when it's time to charge that full price thing, I'm like, all right, well, what have you done? Well, that's 14 people that I've helped net worth go from this to this. And this is what happened. Like, you know, and that 13th person also has to be you. Because if it ain't you, then there's the majority of customers is going to be is going to want to dip and not want to fool with it.
Hey, since are you comfortable getting in the hot seat if I start to ask you some questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Damn, sorry, I did feel older. Look at this gray hair. Get this whooping on me. Okay, but okay, here you go. Let's try this. How many classes have you taken for your finance background so far?
Classes as in like going to school or like
just any I'm taking these I got these certifications, or how many have you taken so far?
I would say 2 that lasted about 4 months each, so about 8 months.
8 months, okay. Mm-hmm. How many hours do you put in a day studying finance every day? Give me an average in 7 days. In minutes.
Average of 7 days. I'll be honest, not every day.
Okay. Who have you worked with that's high performing, and how many hours have you put in with them that's high performing in the industry?
Like
there's somebody who's in the finance industry that's just they're killing it. Like they're multi.
My mentor. So I've known my mentor since September 2020 till now, all the way through. Okay,
so it's 2020. And how much? What is their net worth? You know what their net worth is?
I don't know their specific net worth, but I know last year the business in total did about 10.5 million.
Okay, 10.5 million. And how many hours are you putting in work with them per week?
I'm not working with them per week because that mentorship ended. So it's only when you have access. So there's not like a community where they show up every day and I can like talk and sit like you. But every mentorship that they've had since I met them in September 2020, it's been about 3. I've been in all of those programs and I was one of the best students.
Okay. So now next question is, what do you do daily right now for a living?
I am a school teacher.
And what's the subjects do you teach?
I teach PE.
Teach what?
I teach PE, physical education.
Well, that's why you look like an athlete.
She's an ex-basketball star, Arizona State.
Okay, because I was about to take off running so she can catch people. I figured
she will catch your ass. I wouldn't make it
to the bathroom and be like, why you cheating? You cheating.
She will catch your ass.
Yeah, she looks like she
cross you over.
Nah, I'm not playing basketball with her. I got an ego. Anyway, I will cheat so much I'll break the court. Anyway, so Talk about the rim gone. Anyway, okay. You played basketball, right? That's good. That's tight. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna repeat back to you what you just said in basketball language, and tell me what you think about that. I went to a basketball camp when I was 12 for 8 months. I hung out with this guy who played in the NBA, and when he has some free time, he comes talk to me about basketball. And then when I'm not playing basketball, I'm actually working in a bakery most of the time. Now, why am I not in the NBA? How come nobody respect my game? I just want you to hear it.
Damn.
At the end of the day, because I want you to show that the reason I'm doing this is because I want us to stop seeing ourselves as victims. And I'm not saying you didn't say that. But you're setting up the perfect story for me to kind of talk to everybody. A lot of times we think somebody ain't respecting us, somebody ain't acknowledging us, somebody won't give me a chance. White people, Asian people, Latino people, little short people, whatever, you just something, chubby people, you're going to find somebody that just don't like you. Or my mother don't respect me, or my uncle always been drunk when I try to talk to him, whatever you want to say. But we don't realize the world adjusts to us based upon how we show up. So if you gave the same level of practice you gave to your sport career, or the whatever it gave you, the physical fitness that you currently have, and you put in the same discipline regimen and just learning and being curious, I promise you in the next 3 to 5 years, you'll be in a totally different conversation, and the level of peers and people that respect you is going to absolutely change. And here's another thing about opportunities. Yes, business has a degree of luck, but you have to practice to take advantage of the opportunities. Number 2, the more you practice, the more opportunities will arrive. And so if we don't practice, what happens, this is the natural human fallibility. This has nothing to do with her. This is all of our brains. Our brains will take off with a belief faster than our actions. So we will start to believe we are here, especially if we got those loving liars, and people who love us so much they kind of lie to us unconsciously. We'll take off and we'll be here, but our actual physical body is way down there. And we never will negotiate the rhythm of our movement with our current state. Mm-hmm. And so I can promise you, all white people do not dislike you. I promise you as a politician, all white people don't dislike you. They don't dislike you. I can promise you there are white people right now that's going to buy your products and services if you just vote for me. I promise you that although you black, all black people don't love you either. But I tell you what people do love the most is themselves. And if you give them the opportunity to be a better version of themselves or make themselves better, you are winning in business.
Rich. You'll be rich.
So all that social justice talk in business doesn't fit. Make other people's lives better and you'll be successful. Yep. Worry about yourself and you can't find success because you're too busy thinking about yourself. That's the difference.
Also, too, her example is typical of a lot of examples that we encounter here. And that is, it's not basketball, though. It's corporate world. So some of us think I was a star in the corporate world. I got bumped up and I got promoted and I was executive and I was a supervisor, executive, director, whatever. And so this entrepreneurship should just be a little hop, skip, and a jump. And as soon as they hop, ain't no skip. And for sure ain't no jump. Because it doesn't translate. It's two different energies.
I felt like it was in the 60s when you said that.
I've been watching a lot of Sanford and Son, so you got to excuse me. A lot of Sanford and Son. So like it don't translate because I've done it. I thought, man, I was a high performer in the corporate world. I should be able to easily be a high performer as an entrepreneur. Those two don't translate. You literally fall off a cliff, and then you're in a desert, dry, hungry, and nobody's around. And you're like, what the fuck just happened? Because that's what entrepreneurship is. And then you have to break yourself down to the elements and find the details of who you are and where you want to be, and start working towards your goals. Because it's a whole different game. It's a whole different game. And it's a sobering game. It's an absolute sobering game, but it's a game you can win. Now, are there things that are translatable? Absolutely. Absolutely. There are things that are translatable not at the beginning, but maybe later. But there's not a lot of things that you can translate over. Now, when you get to certain parts of how you scale, or when we talk about E-Myth, well, we probably won't get to E-Myth, but when you talk about creating a business that's repeatable, that's cut and pastable, building processes within your business, that's when you start utilizing experience from the corporate world, because there are processes and documents and specs for every damn thing. Now you know why, because if anything happens to anybody in any department, they can go find the spec and read it and be up to date. So, but from 0 to 10 years into your business, there's very little to nothing translatable.
And just real quick, the way you feel right now is normal. I feel like that. Everybody feels like that. When you become an entrepreneur, it's how come nobody's listening, how come I'm not moving fast enough, what's going on. That impatience is all the experiences you're having are the normal experiences. There's nothing wrong with you. There's no flaws in your personality. You're not, like whatever, because school have burned a lot of us. Like these poor schools we went to, they told you if you didn't get an A in this class, you were not qualified to be a student. And you don't realize that all of us learn differently, and many of us need repetition. And so sometimes the class is moving faster than the repetition allows. So then you burn these ideas of these limitations on yourself of what you can and cannot do. And then when you do say something, I ask a question like that, like when I showed her the distortion, she may easily personalize that distortion like, oh, I have no, you are actually human as hell.
Yeah, it's normal.
And everybody has distortions. You're going to have to fight distortions until you die. I fight distortions to this day, right? And you have to learn how to see them, think about them. And that's why you need that friction team sometimes to help you see them, right? And that's why you need these other entrepreneurs to be like, distortion, right? That's called biases in some cases, or fallacies. What I'm suggesting is that what you're experiencing is the norm. This is all normal. Like I've had the same thing. I said the same. She said the same thing. He said the same thing. Everybody said the same thing. And so you gotta get used to being wrong to get right.
That's entrepreneurship.
You just gotta get used to it. Yeah.
Oh, you got something?
I just wanted to say that I think the beautiful part about being new at this is that you'll realize that your value is in your ability to process variations. And for every person that tells you no or tells you yes or that you can help, you'll know how to solve that problem in a different way. And most value comes from your ability to be able to solve the same problem in as many different ways as you can possibly think of. And that's what you get from the learning journey of like all of the no's, yeses, maybes, call you laters. You'll find different ways to position yourself to make you stronger. And every person you deal with is going to make you better and wiser, and you'll learn something new from them if you choose to frame it that way as opposed to a rejection.
So I think the word is not value, but strategy. All this is strategy. Same thing, like if you got into the first basketball game and you go for a shot and everybody just swatting you, stealing, embarrassing you, crossing you over, you can stop that day, go home, go, I'm never supposed to play basketball. Or you start practicing. And then eventually those things that were up here to start to shrink to you Kyrie Irving, and you laughing at cats when they come in front of you.
She was a female Kyrie Irving.
Yeah. She probably might be a me a little bit. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Come on, man.
So quick story is
Hater.
Funny ass story
Hater.
is exactly that story.
Hater.
So my son was playing basketball at Alameda. He was like 5 years old, killing everybody in Alameda over there, murdering the whole Alameda. So I'm like, this is not real basketball. Don't get used to this. So then he gets to about 3rd or 4th grade. I'm like, all right, you want to still hoop? He was averaging like crazy amounts of points a game. All right, cool. We go to this gym and play. They had a practice for him to be on the Oakland Rebels team. I'm like, all right, go in there. So he walks in the gym, and it's nothing but kids that look like him now. And he gets on the court, and he does his fancy move that we practice a whole bunch of times, and everybody goes ooh and ah, and he's like, yeah, And so one of the kids was like, same age, he was about 8, 9 years old, was like, move out the way to the other kid. I'll guard him, coach. Fuck that. And then my son looks at me like, he just cursed. And I'm like, get it, bro. Get like, this is that real. Get it. That kid that did that is going into the NBA draft this year.
Oh, wow.
James Akinjo. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, get that. That kid locked my son up the whole practice, right? Locked his ass up the whole practice. So we sitting in a car in the parking lot, and all of a sudden I hear, I look over, he crying. I'm like, so what we gonna do? We done? We good? We don't want to play no more? He's like, no, I want to play. I said, good. That's all I need to hear. That kid is raw. Like, he's a rare talent. So you probably, that's just probably as hard as you'll get in Oakland. So if you can get better and learn how to improve in small quantities, get better in small quantities, and learn to go at him your whole childhood, you're gonna be okay. But you can't just go thinking you can go from here to there and it's gonna be wonderful. That's what's gonna create the tension in you to get better. Same thing. We get our ass kicked. I get my ass kicked all the time, every day. Ask Jordan. I'm irritated as hell sometimes because sometimes mistakes will happen 3 days in a row, and I'm like, and I'll catch myself going, oh my God. And I'm like, ooh, did I just say that everybody can hear? Because it's a constant learning and growing. It's a constant improvement, and it seems glamorous on social media, or the end product seem glamorous, but behind the curtain, it's not. And once you get comfortable with the unglamorous parts of it, then you don't mind getting served. You don't mind being in a situation to be like, man, I just got my ass kicked. But guess what? I'm in a room with somebody who can kick my ass. I love it, because over time, you're not going to be able to do that as long as I show up. And when you have that attitude, which is so anti-social justice nowadays, when you have that attitude, it's hard to beat you at some point. And that's what this Tiny Tweaks model is. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Marquita. No, go ahead.
I was just curious, now that we're talking about values, and as much as we talk about values to ground us, what is the thought or the conversation when it's time for us to rethink our values? And I'm saying that, like, when we're first starting, maybe we have a certain perspective, but we're always growing and changing. So we're using the values to be like, no, that doesn't align, and like to kind of ground us. But there comes a point where our values have to change and shift. And I'm just curious, like, what that looks like.
Okay. When you first start, this is one of my little pet peeves. We overvalue the beginning. Sometimes people can start with great values and great business strategy, but quite often when you first start a business, you're going to probably change everything within 1 or 2 years. And the reason for that is because often you're starting these ideas in a bubble in your house by yourself. So everything, it's like you ever had a conversation with yourself and it was just so perfect, and then once it's time to present it to the world, it makes no sense, right? Well, once you start your business, you finally present it to the world. And the feedback says, oh, this is where I want to sit. And then that's when adjustment happens. So pivoting will happen in values as you evolve and grow. And let me share another thing that's even more hidden. If you're a $1 million company, you turn into a $25 million company, your values are going to shift again. Because the more people you impact, you kind of have to evolve or expand some of those values and how they show up. And so don't be afraid, but what you'll find is that just as you rarely shift your values, like, with one day you're a gangster, next day you're a square, and the next week, you punk rock. then you may be schizophrenic or something. But normal people have slow evolution in their values. Your business has that same rhythm. And so it's not a crime to shift your values once you engage with the real world. But we're in a culture right now of individualism. And everybody's, what does this world mean to me? I feel this way. How come you're not showing up for me? And so when you become a business, you're serving others. And when you decide you want to serve others, then your value comes from how you show up from others, not how others show up for you.
Hey, that's game. You're more than welcome to change your values. When we sit up here and say that we're not married to anything, that also includes our values. I'm willing to divorce anything that doesn't serve me. That also includes my values. So those values have to serve you, and not short term, long term. They have to serve you. And as you evolve, grow, improve, change, then some of your values are going to change. A lot of us who grew up in the hood, we have these hood values. And those hood values don't work well in business.
Oh my God, you got to grow up.
So I used to have this loyalty shit about me that was unwavering loyalty to whoever I grew up with, wherever we was. If you need me, I'm here. We doing whatever. At certain points in life, if you don't let go of that value is going to turn on you and it's going to self-destruct on you. Some of us are in relationships, horrible relationships, because we're holding on to values that don't serve us, hanging on to people who don't need to be hung on, because we have these intrinsic values. Some people grew up in households where I don't care how bad your situation is, you don't divorce, you don't break up, you don't do this, religious or culturally, whatever the reasons. Values, like you have to evaluate your values to say, man, are these values serving me as a whole where I want to go? And in business, sometimes it's hard, because if your value is excellent customer service and you gave this customer excellent customer service and he's still not happy, damn it, I got to get this person his money back. And damn it, I need this money.
I did that before.
All right, here's your refund. And now my account is zero or negative because I had to stay true to my value. Because overall, I can't let nobody say that my customer service ain't excellent, because that's part of my value. So your values have to serve you, not just in the short term, but long term. So feel free.
Just turn on the lowest light, so folks can, if they're writing, can see. It's trying to get dark in here. We're not trying to make it like that in here. To make it deeper, what gives you meaning? What gives you meaning?
Yeah.
There
you go.
What gives you meaning? It's just like purpose. Like, so sometimes we say go look for your purpose, and that just seems so overwhelming. What gives you meaning? Yeah. Let's try that first.
So let's talk tiny tweak principle. The tiny tweak principle. It's normal for us humans to want to hit a home run on the first pitch. It's normal.
This is a good one, Court.
It's normal. It's natural. It's ideal. And it's normal for us to hit the lottery or get picked or make it big on a first swing, first try. It's normal. And so it's not a fault of anybody in here or in class. But most, and I will venture to say, if not all, major progress as an entrepreneur, big businesses were built with this tiny tweak principle. It's, what can I do today to be better than I was yesterday in something in my business? The key question he asked her was, how much do you practice a day? That's part of the tiny tweak principle, is because if you want to make millions of dollars in something, if you're an athlete, you got to practice every day. If you want to make millions of dollars in in anything in sports, you got to practice every day. If you're an entertainer, you got to practice every day. You're in the studio every night. So there's no difference in entrepreneurship. Matter of fact, entrepreneurship, I believe, requires even more practice. So the questions you got to ask yourself is, all right, what did I do today to improve? What books did I read? What did I practice? What podcasts did I listen to? What audio books did I hear? What thing did I do? What thing did I tweak in my business? Even if it's 1%, because as we learned with compound interest, that 1% compounds. And it's not 1%. It compounds and it compounds and it compounds, and it takes you down a journey that you don't even realize that you're on from that 1%, called the butterfly effect, right? So the tiny tweak principle is way more powerful than the home run principle. Because guess what? If my first time at bat, I get up there and I hit a home run, grand slam, let's call it, and it's a World Series and I win the game and the crowd goes crazy. Now they're branding me the home run king because of that event. Next to my contract is, so now they want to offer me lots of money because I hit the home run. I'm a home run king. That's my brand. Next season starts. Guess what happened? I ain't got no experience. It was luck. Shit was luck. And the pitchers now, they're gunning for me. Everybody's gunning for me. It ain't the same energy of when they just thought I was a nobody. They really playing me now. And I have no context. So guess what? I start striking out. Hard, strike out, hard, strike out, hard. And because it was handed to me so easy, the propensity to quit happens fast because damn, now I'm a failure and I let everybody down. When you start the opposite way, you know, you touched every part of this motherfucker. I done touched every part of this. I know, oh, you got a problem over here? I got 3 ways to fix this. I got 14 ways to fix this because it's broke down 14 times on my journey. That and it helps you build processes. It helps prevent you from getting bullshitted from people who sell you a dream. The tiny tweak principle is the way. Now, just like in nature, sometimes good things happen. Cool. Luck happens. The rainbow happens. Money, you find money on the ground some days. I'm not saying don't take it. Pick that shit up. Cool. Good job. But put it away and continue the tiny tweak principle. What some people do is they'll find money on the ground. Oh, I just found a bag of money. And then from that point forward in their business, they'll just start looking on the ground. Oh, we scratching necks over there. And that's their business now, looking on the ground. No, that was lightning or God. One of your ancestors threw you an alley-oop. But chalk it to the game, clap it, thank you, and go back to this.
You know, real quick, one more. He talked about compounding. So tiny tweak principle is directly tied to compounding. So as you guys know, in order for compounding to work, you cannot disrupt it by being inconsistent. Once you're inconsistent, you lose the compounding effect. Consistency is the only way you can maintain compounding effect. The other thing you absolutely need to know is if you're relying upon the compounding effect to work, in the beginning, you will feel no results. In the beginning, you will feel no results. It's once you get to higher up in the numbers, you start to see this huge, huge impactful change. But so for example, let's say you start reading your books every day. Well, the first 6 months, it feels like you just been wasting an hour and a half. Not wasting an hour and a half, but you just been beating yourself up for an hour and a half. But 5 years from now, it feels like every time you read a book is a nugget. But you don't realize you put the foundation to the compounding that now you're at a point where you're just almost completing, or you're adding to this complex machinery that's robust from all the time of investment, right? But quite often, same thing with working out. Go to the gym, work out super hard, come home, tell your loved one, I had a great workout. You sweaty, I gotta jump in the shower. Oh my God, I need some water, I need some recovery time. I need some of them herbs and drinks and woos and wham-whams. And you think you did something. And then you look in the mirror 2 weeks later, you put on that dress, and you're like, oh, I know this dress is gonna look like an hourglass. And it still looks like a balloon. And you say, oh shit, this shit ain't working. I'm gonna fire my trainer. I'm leaving this gym because I went from looking like a full balloon to like it just let a little air out. And the reality is that the hourglass is years away because you were once an hourglass and it took you years to become a balloon. And so what I'm saying is that the reality of life is in all the stuff that we're trying to achieve, everything, when your practice started a new practice in the beginning, in basketball, when she first went to practice, she still was garbage. She still could have went to Mossville Park and they'd be like, we're not picking you, sorry. Or she keep changing the score. I got 12. You only got 2. I got 12. Because you garbage, right? But let's say 8 years to the game, she's getting picked first. If she stayed consistent and she continued to practice aggressively and she has smart practice on top of that. So just know there's an illusion in your brain that feel like it's not working when it first starts because you're looking for immediate gratification or some type of reward. And because of this compounding, the reward comes to the constants on the back end.
Yo, I wish I could draw right now because I draw some shit. I want to draw, right? But
right there, you can draw right there. That's what these boards are for. You draw. Shit. And dude, say come to school, but don't write on the board.
now,
that's an alien language. I don't know what that is. It's Aktukaktik. Huh? Oh.
All right, so check this out. So, what this is this. A lot of times we decide we want something. We start here. Because we don't know anything about it, the progress of it feels good because anything you do is profound. Anything you do is profound. Everything you do. So then the learning curve at the beginning is fast and you're excited because, man, I just learned. And now you go from a F to a D quickly because you're excited about it. You're going super hard. But over time, when you get about right here, this is the first drop-off point. All the dabblers in the game quit. Oh, this shit ain't fun no more because I'm not progressing at a rapid rate as I was when I started here. So then what they do is go jump and find another game to get that quick high of a quick learn. That's why they like C's and D's at everything. That's the dabbler. A person who's committed sticks it out. And it almost feels like they're going backwards. They're going hard. They get putting just as much into it as here, but for some weird reason, it's almost like a reshifting happens internally, so the output is whack. But if they can stick to it, who knows how long this takes? This could be 8 years. It could be 5 years, 4, 3, don't matter. But if you stick with it, all of a sudden this is waiting for you on the other side.
So true.
This is waiting for you. But 99.9% of the people never get here because the dabblers cut and then they hit this mark and they say, oh man, this shit ain't for me. If I look back, I'm almost right where I started. If anybody been to the gym, anybody worked out, my goal to hit 4 plates, right? I want to hit 4 plates. That was my thing, right? But as a teenager, I started with the bar and 25 on each side. And my homies was laughing at me because I was weak. And so I committed, and you can get from just 25 on each side to one plate pretty fast if you work out hard enough. Then all of a sudden it feels like you're getting weaker. Man, I'm working out, I'm getting weaker. But if you stick it out, all of a sudden you'll realize, damn, I got strong. Damn, I got stronger. Damn, wow, I got strong. This is how you get there. I'm like 335 right now. Maybe I'll get there before I die, but that's your journey as an entrepreneur.
Can you do a hype cycle real quick? Do a hype cycle real quick. And don't do a hype cycle because I think it's give him that microphone back real quick. Court, do a hype cycle. He loves whiteboards, by the way. Y'all have no idea. He talks on this on a domino game with a whiteboard. Okay, so let's go ahead and explain it real quick.
So hype cycle similar.
Can you get a little lower on the lighting? Yeah.
Hype cycle similar. So in business, you start a business. Say you have a product or service. Now, if you have not been following the Tiny Tweak principle, that's why the Tiny Tweak principle is so fucking important. Is because when you touch everything in your business, because you've been there long enough, the worst thing that can happen is a mediocre business hits a hype cycle.
Worst thing. This is the worst thing. Go Court.
So you're going along in your journey, and all of a sudden, somebody retweets or Instagram posts or reposts, and now your product's crazy. Whew. You hit this hype cycle. You're going up on this hype cycle. Now, you're excited. Oprah said one of her favorite things was your shit, and that's what you've been dreaming for. But guess what? You haven't really built infrastructure to handle a hype cycle. So now your customer service is whack, your products are sold out, everything looks raggedy, everybody's rushed in your office, they're overwhelmed in the office, it's crazy, and now you're trying to manage all of this new business.
And you got money for a minute.
And you got money. So now you hit this hype cycle, and now you got bread. You've made some bread. You got millions. And you went from, so now you're going on this world tour, telling everybody how to be successful and how to make money and how to make millions and all this shit, right?
Horrible.
Because you hit a hype, not because you did the Tiny Tweak principle, you just hit a hype cycle. But then guess what happens? An event happens up here, an event. Maybe it's a national disaster. Or maybe the fucking economy tanked. Or maybe somebody else in a similar business in yours hit their hype cycle, whatever the reason. These hype cycles are not, they're not sexy landings down to the bottom. You crash. Right? So now you're down here. And you feel the same way as that dabbler felt. You feel the same way. And you're like, damn it, what's going on? And you know what you're looking for? A lot of people are looking for here? The next hype cycle. So they're trying to compromise their values, which is their integrity. They're compromising their values to find the next hype cycle. I've done it. That's why don't put me, man, the dope game is right here. If I fail, I just go, because that's compromising your integrity because you want to hit a hype cycle because you want that way of living that you live to not be compromised. Now, there's two different paths. Path one is they put their head down and they start to work. Tiny Tweak principle is in effect immediately at this point. Now, this is the most valuable asset you have. This is the most valuable asset that you have. Because if something happens to your business and it crashes and burns, or somebody takes it away or whatever, they cannot take this away. I could start again. I ain't tripping. Court Smith, I ain't tripping. Of course it'll hurt, But if this was gone, I've done this. So whatever I start, as long as my mind is sound, I know I could do it again. This person can never do it. They can't replicate it. And the market has already soured their reputation because the business hit that drop and they're not sexy no more. So now they don't know what to do. Brown Sugar Kitchen may not know what to do next. Blockbuster don't know what to do because it's gone. It's gone. But a company who's tried and true, who's done this work, that's the ones they'll be around forever.
That was tight. Sounds like
So thanks for breaking that out, because I would have thought that it was just the opposite. Like, there's a phraseology that I hear at work all the time: build the plane as you fly it. Which it doesn't seem like a good idea, but it's almost like sometimes until you have mass capacity in the room, you don't really know what you have to do to scale because you're not really scaling. So when you hit a hype cycle, you have to hurry up and rise to the level that your business is now performing. And that's where I would have thought that's where you identify what your scaling measures need to be.
Well, okay. The industry that you work in, their job is to remove the competition, be the most dominant in the industry. So they get billions of dollars to do things that are unusual in business, to eventually get so far in front of the competition that even if people try to copy them, they're just too big, right? Facebook did that, Google did that, Apple does, everybody does that. That's the .com business strategy. So that does work under that strategy because you have money to burn, right? So let's say you went through the hype cycle, but then when you came down, there was just billions waiting on you. Right? You can even change the speed of your tiny steps. Because instead of me doing tiny steps, I just bring in advanced talent, advanced labor, spend money on advanced equipment, advanced. Like if you looked at the cost of testing ideas, it's pretty up there, right? You look at how many people they have working there that probably the shit they don't really need. It's probably more than they really need, right? And so in a sense, that's why you can't take a lot of their methodologies and apply it to starting a business. The businesses that came together to create Google, because that's a collaboration of smaller businesses. The success of a smaller business creates the new foundation that Google's and Intel and all these other companies can rise above, that can grow up on. They have different principles of startup, development, growth. African Americans are closer to that system because many of us are not coming from a succession of great wealth. So like if your mother passed down to you millions and millions and millions of dollars, there are some things you would have an advantages that you can skip certain strategies and get around it because the money does allow you to have the room to breathe and make certain moves. So the hype cycle is usually when somebody has a great idea or they bring some innovation or an invention to the market, or they they align with a trend and they take off. And your ego, because you didn't go through the process, hype cycle is really no different than winning the lottery.
Exactly.
That's really what it is.
It is the lottery.
And so you get the money so fast and you're not aware of what you don't learn. Like, okay, if somebody gave me 20 million, somebody said, no, I'm gonna give you 20 million right now, it instantly goes into of course you have to pay your taxes unless I can figure a way to get it there. It instantly goes into investments and I live off my investments. Right? At minimum, if I'm making 10% of my investments, I'm living off of $200,000 a year. Not a bad life. I don't have to go nowhere. That means, come on, $200,000 a year, right? But if you get the money, 20 million right away, and you've always been poor, you don't think about investments. You don't think about 10% return on your money. You think about investing in your status. And so you instantly start pouring into your status. Now you got $2 million left, or $1 million left. Now you want to get conservative, but you've already built up the raw momentum and you don't even know how to stop the bleeding because you never built anything to know those principles on how to navigate that space. The struggles you go through give you the principles to sustain your position. So the tiny steps is all the lessons you need to take on. So if you get to the top, you know how to stay there for some amount of time. And even if you fall, you leave there with residue. I mean that my company goes away, but I'm retired. I'm good. I'm smart enough because I understood business. But if I put you up there right away and the money goes away, you go with it.
Mm-hmm. Yo, so the thing about the hype cycle, what's important to know is that no one knows when the hype cycle happened for you. It can happen at any moment.
Any moment.
So the idea of it happening at the beginning, what the average person thinks it will be great, but a true entrepreneur know that kind of sucks because there's not enough experience behind it. The key thing too to know is this: if you're in a hype cycle, know that it's a hype cycle. Understand that hype cycle is gonna crash down. So when you know that, then your spending is different at the top of that thing, or even on the way up. The spending is different. Your strategies is different. Your attitudes is different. You're not hard to deal with. You ain't got no big hot head. You're not super cocky because you know, oh no, I'm in the middle of a hype cycle. So my goal is to maximize this, improve my systems, and get on the other side of this, adding as much value as I can, but I'm not adjusting my monthly spending now to what the peak of this hype cycle. Because you know that shit's gonna end. And so that's the key too, is knowing, man, we in a hype, nothing changes. You're not going out being extravagant and going crazy. Nothing changes. You're making tiny tweaks still. Now, of course, you're making adjustments to manage your business and making investments to manage and handle what's happening, but your mentality is not getting caught up in the hype.
How many athletes you know right now that now they get their money, they'll stop buying the big old houses? Because you buy a house that's 6,000 square feet, who gonna take care of that, right? And the cost, we forget about the cost of ownership, right? When that roof goes out, oh, you ain't spending no 10 grand. Oh, bro, that's 60, 70 grand, let's go. 100 grand, let's go, right? And we didn't think about that when we bought the house. And that was nothing when I had a contract where I was doing 15, 20, 30 million a year. But now that money's gone, and if my investment game ain't strong, this is how so many people go broke. So most athletes fall victim to hype cycles.
Yeah.
By the way, we got
all right.
Okay. The tiny tweak principle, how much of this is connected to like grit? Like when we're talking about when you're at the bottom of that cycle and you're trying to...
A lot of it. There's a lot of it. Because your brain, the grit is really more psychological than physical. Meaning you probably will eat every day, but mentally you can start telling yourself your life is horrible. Or this is so hard. Oh my God, why is it taking so long? Maybe I shouldn't be going here. You gotta almost, I used to give the example of walking through a tunnel that's completely dark and you can't see to the right, to the left, above, or below you. But you can feel the ground beneath your feet, just keep walking.
Yeah.
Right? That's literally what it feels like when you're taking some tiny steps, right? When you're reading these books, or if you go to the gym and you work out, you're in the workout. But hopefully you're not, when you got a flat chest, you're not taking your shirt off every time you finish a set and looking at it. It's going to overwhelm you and depress you. Right? Because you'll be like, nothing? Right? So at some point, you got to get into the workout, and then one day you just have to put on a t-shirt. You're like, what's that? And then at that point, you're wearing them deep V's like Mashama used to wear. And so the point is that you get to a point, yes, I got him, and he's watching this video, he used to wear V-neck to his stomach. But the point is this, we don't get past that. I don't judge cats who wear deep V-necks. You know I am. I'm open-minded. Point is this. So, yeah, I'm bringing the heat against him. But anyway, point is this. So the process takes a minute. All this stuff takes a minute to get there. What destroys a large, based on the example he gave before, the hype cycle, many of us are destroyed by impatience.
Mm-hmm.
And so patience is a grimy act. Because it's like, if you're on the back end of 5 years feel forever.
Mm-hmm.
But once you pass 5 years, you realize it was just that fast. And so that grit of just reading those books, hearing all those no's, doing everything wrong. If you're playing sports, sitting on the bench for years, getting cut, always they sending you to go get water for the team while you're at practice because you suck, right? Everything is it's just all the jokes from all the people above, all the people telling you like, well, if you were just like me, and your desire to want to have your status and your ego, right? But all that that also allows you to suppress your ego and a desire for status and align with your happiness, and you realize your life is a lot cheaper.
Mm. And we're going to talk more about grit late if we make it deep into these slides. But we got to keep going because we have a. Oh no, you got one more question. Go ahead, brother. Go. No, let's do it.
We're talking about hype cycles. What if I'm finding myself in a place where my business was almost born in a hype cycle? My business is tied to the real estate market. Mm-hmm. And when I first jumped into my business, everything was still steady. But then last year, it just, and that was my first kind of real year really diving into it, offering services and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so now the real estate market isn't what it was last year, mm-hmm. but I signed up to give all these services. Now these services are kicking my butt. I can't necessarily take them away because that's how I built my brand. Mm. So I'm trying to still afford last year's hype cycle without last year's income.
No, okay. So go ahead. You go first. Go ahead.
No, you have this is your business, my brother. This is your business. This ain't your job. So you have the power to start making tweaks in your business. Because the first thing of being in a hype cycle is knowing you're in a hype cycle. That's the first thing. Now, once you know you're in a hype cycle, now you move different off top, just off the knowing. Oh shit, I'm in a hype cycle, and now you just said where you were in it. You said you built your business. Now you're on the down hill of the hype cycle. So the thing is, if you behave on the downside of a hype cycle like you did on the way up, it will destroy your business.
Oh my God, there you go. That's it.
So you got to make those adjustments, changes, tweaks, pull services out. And you got excuses. You can be like COVID, you can say all kind of shit.
My grandmother plays basketball right now. She doesn't help me out.
But you can
make it whatever
and make those tweaks and adjustments that serve you, still serve the customer, but serve you based on where you are in a hype cycle, and then get ready to do the work.
Yeah, and also too, like, no one is checking for you that hard. Whatever you think your brand is, first of all, if you check with your customers, you can always shift that. You can always, it's not 100% controlled by them, it's not 100% controlled by you. And you're not trapped by anything. You can always shift your business based upon new trends. Otherwise, what you're suggesting is I got to start a business a certain kind of way, and if the world changes for whatever popular trend, I just got to die. And you'll see some of the great, like these 100-year companies like GM and some of these companies that have been around for a long time, they learn to continue to shift and align with popular trends. It's companies who feel that their trends or their beliefs of who they are or their brand is so strong, they can't change. Those are the ones who often die. They buy too deep into the story. It's okay for your employees to buy into that story, but you as a business owner, it's all hallucination. It's imaginary world. It's all make-believe. If you want some real shit to happen, stay focused on reality. I used to say this old phrase the first year I taught Hope, it was this famous phrase: if you want to master reality, stop practicing make-believe. That was my favorite. I got plaques that students gave me. That's because I used to say it so much that sometimes we get caught in an hallucination like it's real. As owner, you have to make that separation and go, oh, this is just an hallucination. I can change the story and change the players anytime I want. If a better opportunity permits. And that means any type of partnership. If tomorrow you find out that your knowledge in real estate is not where the money's at, you should do it in fishing, because fishing right now is an industry that has the best long-term investment in your industry, and this is just a temporary trend in this industry. You take those same skills and just a product for fishing because that's your other love, right? Mm-hmm. But what you don't do is, no, I'm going to go down with the ship. Like, if you don't cut that old fake-ass story out, that's not real. Mm-hmm. I don't go down with ships. Get on helicopters. That's what I do.
Yep.
Get on helicopters. So just make that adjustment.
It's real. Let's do some reading, Shabisha. We have never mind. We'll read next week. Shabisha.
I'm holding this up. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between the tiny tweak principle and the human-centered design, rapid prototyping? Because in my head, I don't want to conflate them if they're not the same thing. and I want to understand a little more of that difference.
Can you? I didn't hear the last part.
Yeah, I just want to know if you can talk a little bit about the difference between the tiny tweak principle and rapid prototyping, like in the human-centered design concept, because I don't want to conflate them in my head. And what I could think about is when I hear rapid prototyping, I think about a singular challenge or solution, whereas the tiny tweak principle is like this continuous, quality improvement kind of process.
I don't have enough knowledge about rapid
okay.
prototyping to give you a good answer. I'll be bullshitting like a mother.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I don't know the methodology of rapid prototyping. You described it to me. I think I know what it is, but I don't want to try it either because if you want to explain what it is in definition, I think I know what it is. Then I can give you the comparison where we're going.
Yeah, so it's essentially it's understanding like if you could create a solution and then you test it out before you think you're at the final solution. So continuing to test it out with your like friction group, for example, right?
Yeah.
So then when you finally arrive at the final solution, you've already gone through all these many iterations, right? In order to kind of triangulate or find that right solution for your business.
Yeah, and so which is important because business is not about right and wrong, right? Because right is relative to who you're trying to serve. And so to figure out the right towards the market you're trying to serve. But tiny tweak principles, that's an attachable methodology to kind of help you align a service you're providing or the way you're showing up to a particular market. But tiny tweak principles is really the idea of looking at building as a whole. In our mind, we build buildings overnight, but we forget the speed that it takes to develop it. A lot of it gets into the discussion binary thing we get into. We had a client the other day who was like, okay, let's look at the babies. By the way, my prayers go out to the families, and all of our prayers go out to the families of the babies that were lost in Texas, and of course, our people who were lost in Buffalo. But it's just hard to hear babies being massacred by a mental health. And everybody's running to these quick solutions. Guns, mental health. Guns, mental health. Life ain't that simple. It's so many layers of complexities when it comes to dealing with that, right? In our mind, if we try to solve this problem, we're not going 0 to 100. If you think 0 to 100 is a solution, then you're going to continue to give up and quit when you're making progress. If you look at the numbers, and because when you're helping the public, you got to look at numbers. You can't get into your feelings and your perception because your perception is not strong enough to comprehend a large group of people. You got to go, okay, we worked on this for the last 2 years. We had 2% change. Good. In the next 10 years, we'll have maybe we'll have 5% change, right? Next 20 years, we have a 10% across the nation improvement on gun deaths, right? Or we reduce, instead of being once a week, it's once a month. Instead of being once a month, it's once every 6 months, right? We can make those adjustments. What we often do as human beings is all or nothing. Why is this done being fixed right now? If we just fix this one thing, that should change everything, right? Let's say you change one thing and it only changes 2%. There's a group of people say, oh, this didn't do anything. But that 2% is part of your tiny process and tiny steps. But in that process of proof and discovery, there are different ways to gain accuracy. What's the term you use? Rapid
prototyping.
Rapid prototyping. That's almost tied to the evidence of the process. Of like, how do you evaluate, how do you measure that process so you actually know you're making some difference? So there's a way so one of the things I'm going to get into it in July is how to use proper measuring tools to measure your growth. Because quite often we can bust our ass and be sweating all day long and we only made 1% of progress and it didn't match the amount of labor we put into it. It's just not scalable, it's sustainable. Or we could put in a proper amount of time, but due to the size of the problem and the complexity of the problem, 2% is a huge shift. And so I think it's more of a characteristic and tool of what he's suggesting. But what he's suggesting is preventing the mental perception that you are or not moving forward. It's so easy to think you're not moving forward when you are moving forward. It's so easy to think that you're not having impact. It's so easy to think your business didn't grow last year because you only had 2% growth. That's why you have to look at your numbers every year. Because you might think, oh, last year was horrible. You had actually 3% growth.
Also, too, thank you for giving me the context. That helped me. I'll look at it like this. What iPhone are we at right now? 13. That's 13. And then within each iPhone, how many times do you get them updates? Oh my God. So that is the tiny tweak principle.
Who could cut to, oh my God. Oh my God, that's hella numbers.
All these upgrades, right? That's what the tiny tweak principle is, mixed with the rapid prototyping, is we're not going to wait for this thing to be perfect. iPhone 1 was as perfect as they could make it in the moment. And they knew it had bugs, flaws, all kind of stuff, but it's good enough for the market right now, and we'll tweak it along the way. We'll improve it along the way. And they never stop. We're on 13 now. And so in business, you're the same. You'll always, you got to look at yourself as you're the you're an iPhone 8 right now, or you're an iPhone 13 right now, or, oh, you know what? The upgrades I made didn't work as well as I want them to, so I'm going to go back one step, and you're always doing that. So I think rapid prototyping is good. It's good because it gets you to the market, but you don't stop. The tiny tweak principle is in effect as soon as you press go and you're in the market. And now it's just because it's on the market, you're still dissecting it. All right, let me send a software update to fix this one bug. Oh, let me send another one. How many it needs to be sent in order for us to continue to improve it?
Did you guys see the other lesson? He taught two lessons at once. When he asked a question with a term that I'm sure we've heard, but we haven't used it contextually. He said, I don't know. That requires a certain level of growth and confidence. That took me 2 years to develop that one. I don't know. Because in the end, you want to believe, you don't have any idea how vast information is. It is so corny and disrespectful and mean-spirited when somebody says, I know more than you, and then tries to shame you for your ignorance. Because information is so vast. It's so vast, there's no way in the world you would know more than a certain small percentage of information. I'm talking about extremely small percentage of information. We all have our circle of genius. So if I walk into your circle of genius, you should give me a whooping. Like you should just turn me around to a point I feel like I'm in a blender because you're so brilliant in that space. But I can bring you to my circle of genius and do the same to you. That silliness of I have a higher degree, I'm more educated than you, has been a vicious weapon used on our people for so goddamn long that it has a lot of people walking around thinking they're stupid. And you have such great potentials. And the fastest way to get there, don't ask those people to change because they are who they are, and that's because they're going through what they're going through. But the way you get there faster is realize you're never going to know everything. So when something is presented to you that sounds interesting, tell the person, I don't know what you're saying, share more. And if you're still curious, if you want to own it, because once they share it, that doesn't mean you own it yet. Because they may be giving you junk science with the intent to give you good science. It's your responsibility to go home and look it up. And we're in a world now where, back in my days, I had to go look at these leather-bound ass encyclopedias or find Mr. Johnson and ask him a question. That shit sucked. Because Mr. Johnson would talk all that shit. Well, I ain't got time to be talking to you unless you cut my grass. We ain't in that world no more. We passed that time. You can now go on YouTube, internet, find a good book, and then find the person who actually is the leader of that thought. Find when the idea was introduced. Find when the idea shifted or expanded. You can find so many layers to a core idea that interests you that you can gain ownership. Stop depending on ownership to come through. So the information he gave me, my brain is like, okay, I got to go home and look it up.
Exactly.
Right? I have to take on ownership. Because one is that I would say maybe 2 times a year, somebody will ask me a question. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. It's a valid question. I take on the challenge so the next time I'm in front of a crowd, I'm even that more robust to respond and serve. Not to impress nobody, but to serve everybody in this room. That's my job, is to serve you. So every time you run across a space, he says, I don't know. how can I take that on as a challenge to become greater? But stop trying to protect your ego. Yeah. I heard about that before. I heard about that. Yeah. No, I don't know. Yeah. Skiing. Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah. No, your ass ain't even roller skated. So that's the reality of like, that was so powerful and it played out right in front of you. And I promise if you try to do it tomorrow, you're going to feel some kind of way. But if you practice for about 1 or 2 years, you'll get quick at I don't know. What do you mean? I don't know. What does that mean to me? I don't know what you're talking about. Explain that to me. And matter of fact, it becomes a super tool, which I'm going to teach some other point. What time are we at?
It's 9:02.
Oh, it's 9:02. Well, we got to end now because we have a lot of layers to this. And actually, class is actually longer than it was previously. And even though we ended early, so to some of you it may feel different, but check the statistics, look at the numbers. We got a whole bunch of lessons left, but I think it's the first time we had a nice crowd of people in this space.
I love it.
And honestly, I have no problem with classes being like this more often.
Love it.
Because I'm here to serve you. We're not here to flex in front of you, right? And we will figure ways to deliver the information. I'm going to give you podcasts. We're going to have books. We're going to have structure to the class. We're going to have exercise. We're going to have a combination of things. And working with Shakina and Cassandra on even future lessons and homework processes that can be fun and exciting that's aligned with what we want to do. However, the dialogue is so better than the monologue because it's about you. And also, all of you are lessons for us because you guys are so damn unique. So I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. We're going to shut down at 9. Those of us can help us straighten up if you can. Those who got to go, do your thing. No jealousy. If Court rolls his eyes at you, he has a mental eye problem, so it just moves like that. So anyway, with that being said, love everybody online, love everybody here. Once again, Steph, appreciate you, love you. Thank you so much. See y'all later. Thank you.